would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by the talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-line broadcast bunker on the beautiful south coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
One hell of a week. You know, Monday was a really kick-ass day. The inauguration and going into the first day of the presidency. Our president has done more in this week than the last president has done probably in the 40 years that he's been in office, you know, other than, passing laws that put black men in jail and sniffing women's hair. That's really, other than crapping his pants, that's really pretty much all the last president did. And the current president, my gosh, what a whirlwind. What a whirlwind. But there's a lot to talk about. And that's what tonight's show is, a local show. We're going to be talking about Coos County and the crime that's going on in Coos County. And I've got a couple of guests with me. First, I'm going to introduce Chris Castleman. Chris, how you doing?
Howdy. How's it going? Pretty good.
It's going all right.
Had a crazy week.
Yeah, it's been a busy week. Yeah, no kidding. It's been one of those weeks where, like you said, we've been fighting a lot of little battles. We might get into that a little bit. But crime is the big issue. And of course, my second guest, I shouldn't even have to introduce him. You all should know him. And he's the man, the myth. It's Doug Washington. You are a crowd favorite, man.
I didn't expect that.
It's hard to fill this back room with all those people, but it's amazing. You
just crammed them in there. I don't know how you did that. You put an addition on or something.
Yeah, it's amazing. My wife gets really mad. She's like, "Can you get these people out of my damn house?"
Well, it's using the bathroom. That's the whole thing. The toilet situation is, it gets a bit.
And I only got one bathroom, and yeah, that's a hell of a situation. My whole life has been scheduled that 30-minute interval between who uses the shower and who's going to the next thing. But
I love your sub headline, bum abatement specialist.
Bum abatement.
Yeah, it's a new title, something I'm trying out in my neighborhood. I now have a zero tolerance policy for dirtbags.
You are owning the title for sure.
Yeah.
We have a lady here that me and Chris were helping out. She's got a couple of guys who are bugging her. And I think what it is now, and I haven't talked to Chris about this, is I think the bums are living on this property close to her property. And they're going through her property, but she's worried about it because she's a single woman with four adopted daughters, all of them with mental problems, issues. And she's real leery about these guys wandering around her house. And
most of the bums wandering the street are sex offenders. Let's just cut to the chase on all this. The vast majority of anybody I've had issues with on the streets, on the sidewalks, breaking into stuff, they've been sex offenders. We hold the record in America for the number of sex offenders and it's not per capita. We just have the cold hard numbers. If I understand it right, they all come here because it's easy living. It's easy living, and the bleeding hearts of do-gooders just hand them out whatever they want, whenever they want.
Yes, absolutely. And there's no punishment for them. That's even the worst part, is that there is absolutely no punishment for these people. And it's a revolving door on the jails. And as long as we've got the legislature that we have, there is absolutely no way they will ever, this will not change, and we can give all the money we want to the jail. It really wouldn't matter. And
Right. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, we're not even just jumping to a conclusion there with the sex offender stuff. So we went to this lady's property and we did some investigation, and we're pretty sure it's like a peeping Tom situation, right? You've got this one or two guys that are just sneaking around this neighborhood at night. There's like a dance studio for young girls down the street, and they've seen them like looking through the windows and stuff, and it's not a good situation. So we put up some cameras. This is like a trail camera, but it's like runs on cellular. So you don't have to go and download the video and photos. You get it right to your phone. And then we've got these like little tiny cameras, and these are wireless. So there's like a 400-foot range. So you can put them pretty far from the house, and they're that big, and they're black. So they're pretty hard to spot. And so we're trying to help her out with that to catch these guys, because no one knows who they are. The police, the sheriff have been out there, and they even chased a guy through the woods and couldn't catch him. And it's tough. We got to figure out who they are, and if they've got warrants, get them the hell out of here.
It's going to come to inevitable conclusions. I mean, it's going to get to a point where it gets bad and it gets violent. Yeah. These people, I didn't call them people, these vermin are so emboldened with what they do and their lifestyle. There's absolutely no deterrence. The couple that I caught on whatever day it was, a week ago, a few days ago, whatever it was, those scumbags have been legally trespassed from my property no less than 4 times. They've been caught in the act of stealing mail delivered by the USPS no less than 3 times. They've passed counterfeit money, trying to cash bogus checks. And this is all within the past month to 2 months. This is a very short period of time that they're only script. And then we find out today that they got busted in North Bend High School property with, there we go, with stuff they stole from North Bend High School. I wouldn't be surprised for a second if they're not already back out on the street. And the platitudes of, well, you didn't fund the levy. So let me tell you what, I've been here 13 freaking years, man. And when I moved here, they had it down to 1 to 2 patrol deputies. It was a Tuesday or Wednesday. That was all they had. There's always been an issue with the jails, and we live in a judicial district, area, state, whatever you want to call it. And we've got the 9th Circus Court of Appeals. We've got all these people that fight the good people and enable these bums. It has been like this since I've lived here. This whole thing of like, well, we just gave us more money, we could hold more bad guys. We didn't freaking hold more bad guys in the first place, so shut up. You weren't doing it. God, I'm pissed off. I have 2 little girls, and one of these shit bags that I got the other night is a sex offender. And I was trying to hold his old lady. I was trying to detain her, and then he was getting closer, and I'm like, come on, man, come on, let's do it. I'm going to effing kill you. I'm going to effing kill you. Let me tell you what, I'm done. It's over. For the safety and sanctity of my family, it is over. I have 2 little girls and a wife. What happens if I'm out somewhere and they come in and do something? They are getting more and more emboldened. No less than 4 times they've been trespassed from my property. And cops show up. They respond good. North Bend PD has been good. But you know what? I don't know how they get up and put on a uniform in the morning. I don't know how they get up and look at themselves in the mirror in the morning. Well, it's all we can do. Our hands are tied. It's what the judiciary tells us. It's what the state tells us. Okay, I don't want to say the F word here so bad. If you're a frickin', I'll try not to. If you're a frickin' firefighter, and then the words come from on high, like, well, you can't use water or fire hoses anymore. It's the new legislation. And then you still go to work every day. Well, it's all I can do. It's all I can do. I don't have a choice. And here's.
Well, it's like if you worked at a burger shop, right? And you took money from the customers. You took.
How you guys doing?
You took their money.
Good. Everything all right?
Yeah.
Oh no.
All right.
This is like PD Live. He's gonna go arrest some bums.
Oh, this is cool. This is like PD Live, man. Did you get somebody?
No, I think one's a kid.
Oh no.
But I see bicycles traveling at night. And if it's kids on bikes, it's one thing. If you're over the age of 18 and you ride a bike around as your main means of locomotion, you are a shitbag.
Grown-ass men riding around at 2 a.m. on a bike, that's not normal.
Yeah, with mask on. They're all in black with the hoodie and the mask. And in the old days, cops would stop guys like that and frisk them and find out what's going on. But now, oh no, they have rights all of a sudden, and we don't care.
Probable cause, baby. Probable cause.
Yeah.
You can there's and they can do a lot more than they're doing here. They're worried about losing their jobs, and they're good guys. They're good guys, but they're with a useless, defunct bunch of departments that do nothing. They do nothing. Yeah, there's some major crime stuff that they get involved with, investigate, but the day in, day out of law enforcement isn't being dealt with here, not by a long shot. Well, they all have rights too. They abrogate their rights when they infringe on mine and yours. And this lady you're talking about with these shitbags in the woods trying to do peep and Tom stuff. Come peep into my house and watch what happens. I will let the chips fall where they may. This is a no-go zone now. This neighborhood is now a no-go zone for known shitbags.
And that's truly, I believe, is what's going to eventually happen, is that we are going to have to set up these no-go zones. And I think that the best damn thing I've heard you say, and I don't think this was quite the quote, but I loved it. So here it is.
Yeah. Don't be a cuck. Take back your neighborhood.
Don't be a cuck. Take back your neighborhood. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I'm astonished at the amount of men that do nothing. You know, the present company excluded, of course. And we've got, there's good people out there that are doing what they need to do. We've got the Coos County Neighborhood Watch. There's a lot of good people involved in that, and they keep eyes and ears open and stuff like that. But the vast majority of men in this area are just pussies that don't, well, I'm worried about getting in trouble. The law doesn't let you. You moron, you mouth-breathing piece of shit. If you have a dirtbag coming into your property, you can do stuff. Stop being such a baby. Well, they were in my garage, but I called 911 and I told them to get out. No, you pig pile on top of them. You detain them. You do what the hell you have to do to make your home safe. God, I'm so tired of these namby-pamby.
I would love to find some guy in my garage, somebody in my garage trying to steal from me. They wouldn't have to worry about me calling the cops, because that's the last people I want showing up, because I've got a lot of tools in the garage and I know how to use those suckers, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. I find you in my garage. You know what I mean? It's like
you can find out a lot of information with a pair of vice grips.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's what it's going to come to. And what part of the thing I wanted to talk about is that the people who are protecting themselves are now become the criminals. Yes. And I think that all three of us here are now on that border where we can become criminals trying to protect the county itself. And that could be a bad thing. And I would like to get the message out to the police officers to back off as citizens who are protecting their property.
And they've been good. And again, I'm hacking on law enforcement, and I am, and I'm gonna. I just have such a hard time. Again, how can you get up and go to work in the morning when you can't do your job? Why do your job? Go do something else. Go do something. You love what you're doing. Get the hell out of here and be a law enforcement officer somewhere else. I don't think a lot of these guys on these local departments understand what a lot of America is really like and what it's really about, because it's not all namby-pamby like this.
Right.
Another group of people that it infuriates me is it's like this everywhere. There's nothing you can do. Bullshit. I call anybody that travels, anybody that goes anywhere, and I'm not just talking up and down the left coast, but even the left coast, we are in a hive right here. The state of Oregon has more sex offenders than any other state in the union. And here in Coos County, we have some of the highest numbers. We're number one in like syphilis. We're number one in pedophiles. We're number one in Coos County, way to go. I tell people all the time, stay the hell out of here. Don't visit here. Take your visitor dollars elsewhere. Make it hurt the people here where it counts. Get these groups and organizations. Get the governments to finally realize crap, we're not getting anybody coming in. Nobody's investing. Nobody wants to come on vacation here anymore. Well, yeah, there's consequences to inaction as well as there's consequences to action.
Right.
It definitely pisses me off when I go to the city council or the county commissioner meeting and I talk about how we're experiencing this crime problem, and they look at me like I'm crazy. Like they want to have this narrative that it's not a big issue, or that, since it's been an issue for 20 years, it's not something we need to get to right away. And it's that's so infuriating. I took the time out of my day to come and petition the government for the redress of grievances, and they just sit there and pretty much say you're on your own, fucker. It's crazy.
You're on your own unless you do something, and then when you do something, well, we're going to correct your actions. That's the
Yep.
problem, and that's why so many of these guys have been cucked. They've been cucked by their own government, and they
Yep.
need to stop that. They need to break those chains. They need to grow a set of balls and say, "Screw it! If I get in
Yep.
trouble, hell, I'd rather defend myself in prison at this point."
Yeah, absolutely. And especially like say me with young kids, I can't take chances. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to do something. I don't want to say something illegal or something that would be perceived as illegal by the wrong people. But ultimately, I have to do what's morally right. I have to do the right thing, and that is protect and defend my family, my home, the sanctity of those things, and even my neighbors, my immediate neighbors. If I see something going on, and I have, we've rousted up 2 o'clock in the morning, and I've barreled out the door with the AR, chasing people out of my neighbor's yard, flicking door handles for, they're just, and these other scumbags here, they're just canning. That's my favorite. I tell people back home that they call it canning. Well, canning is something grandma does in the frickin' fall with pickles and shit. Right. Canning is not going door to door, stealing cans out of somebody's yard. What kind of retarded place do we live in? Canning.
I've never heard that term. I've never heard that term, canning. They're actually calling these people, they're out there canning, like it's a career or something.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, don't know their story. Sorry, I'm fired up.
Oh, that's okay, man. I've got to show this video. This is a really good video. This is what starts out this whole thing with you and the guy Eugene Moy.
He's gonna go to the house. No. No. Out. Right up here. Right here.
Wow, the nerve of her. The nerve.
Fourth time in less than 2 months.
Oh, it happens all over the county every night. Yep. It's happening right now as we speak.
Yeah,
you're right. As we speak. And those two scumbags, and they didn't even do that much that night. Normally they've got a wagon with them that they just load up with stuff. They've been interdicted by the PD at least on 3 occasions and identified and told, don't do it again. Don't do it again.
Yeah, and then I think they press charges for what is in that video, right? They got arrested. She didn't get arrested, and the guy got arrested for not registering as a sex offender.
Yeah,
and that had nothing to do with the mail theft. They didn't press charges.
No, it's just mail theft.
It's just mail theft, right? It's just a sex offender who forgot to register. You know, he's got a lot of
paperwork issue
wandering around like that. But this is my favorite part, and I'm going to have a few questions for you after this one.
Okay.
Come get him.
I love that. That's the best, man. Did you have an axe or was that a bat? We were debating.
It's an axe handle. It's a hickory axe handle.
Oh wow.
And Moy was starting to kill me, and he stayed so far away. I was trying to hold his old lady, and like I say, I wasn't gonna hurt her or anything. I should. I mean, who cares at this point? These are criminals in the commission of a crime. But and he's talking about how you beat her up and the LE. So when the cops show up to get these two shitbags, so as I'm chasing them, they're running from house to house, like banging on doors, trying to get help because they know I'm done. Now I'm chasing them in my vehicle, and one of the first questions the cops is, well, they say that you grabbed an axe and you came and you started attacking them. Okay, why would you even freaking ask me that? Who gives a shit? Are they okay? Are they bleeding? Why are you even asking me that, you freaking? And I said, man, if I came at them hard and heavy with an axe, they'd both be dead. Let's be serious about that. And he was good about it. But the fact that I was even asked that, are they okay? Are they fine? Are these criminals? Were they just caught in the commission of numerous crimes? Yes. So old Eugene, he's staying he won't come near. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna effing kill you. I'm gonna kill you. I'm like, come on, man, come do it. Come on, buddy. Come on. Please, I beg you, do it. And he wouldn't come near me at all. But then he picks up his bicycle and tries to throw it at me. So I took both their bicycles, and I decided I was taking his weapon away from. Now here's the tragedy of it. I took their weapons away from them to keep myself safe and defend myself. I put their weapons, aka bicycles, on my property. And at some point in the middle of the night, I don't know what happened. This is just so sad, but there was a very brief power outage, and I guess all my cameras went out, and the bicycles went missing. I
Fucking
just
hate when that happens.
unreal. Apparently, he has a skateboard now, so my plan is to get that as well.
Well, he has a master's degree, so I'm thinking, that right there should tell everybody college is a freaking scam. Okay,
If he has anything better than 10th grade, I will give everybody watching $1. There's no way that clown has a degree in anything.
And this is the guy right here. He's a registered sex offender. He was registered in Albany in January. This is my favorite. His girlfriend is Sherry Nicole Harris. Now, what girl says, this is the guy for me. I can change him. I can make this guy an upstanding guy. I know he's living in the street. He's riding a skateboard, but he's got a master's degree. He's going somewhere,
And a sweet bag of cans. Like, wow.
Because he's a canner. Yeah,
he's a canner. This guy's a canner. It's like a prepper. It's like a homesteader. Oh, you're into canning. Yeah, I got a bunch.
And the back and forth you guys had, this was my favorite. Eugene says, and you guys can read along at home. It says, women eating pee, women beating pee. You're a freaking chump. Dude, you wouldn't even come after me. You had to effing beat up my girlfriend. Freaking P ass B. And I'm thinking, he let
what
you
the fuck does that mean?
Right?
What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know. I made the mistake of reading all of that, and I'm now mildly retarded. I think it takes a week to get everything he wrote out of your head. Don't read the whole thing. It's like poison. It's just it is.
Is this real? Is that the real guy?
That's the real guy.
Is that a fake account?
No, that was him. 100%. Rob's like, should I get him on the show? And I'm like, that could be kind of. And then I got thinking, like, no, I don't know that. We're just giving ammunition to these idiots. It would have been fun. It would have been good for ratings. But then he ended up getting arrested today anyway. So
yeah, I did see that. Yeah, but I was going to invite him, but I thought, like what you said, what if he comes back? This thing escalates, and then something we see on the show gets twisted and turned. And you planned this, Rob. You planned for him to come back to your house,
exactly,
and mess with you somehow because you're such an evil genius. You can twist and distort this master's mind.
Now, this guy who's going to kill me and he's going to mess me up, but if we go face to face, he's going to teach me some lessons. I don't know, between his master's degree and his Steven Seagal Aikido that he's got. I was in my PJs and slippers during this whole thing. I was at a distinct tactical disadvantage. I was in PJs and slippers when I procured their weapons of choice, i.e. their bicycles, and he did nothing. So here's the funniest part of the whole thing. So the family's like, what's going on? Like I barreled out because I built an alarm onto our whole house is lasers and alarms and video cameras, but the mailbox was the weak point. So I built a passive infrared transmitter I modified one that goes inside the mailbox, can transmit outside the mailbox and let us know. It gives a specific tone inside the house. It's a cowbell sound. So I heard the cowbell, I go bolting out, and everybody wants to know, like, what's going on? What's Dad doing? So after I gave chase on him, I pulled up the girls pulled up the video to see what I was doing. And they saw the part where I said, and I'm out here in my PJs and slippers. And the youngest, who's so funny, she goes, because I always critique people in Walmart wearing slippers and PJs. And she goes, so much for not wearing PJs and slippers out in public. That was her takeaway.
So for Christmas, me and Chris are going to chip in and get you an adult size Elmo pair of pajamas. And you can have the whole Elmo thing with the Elmo thing going running out. That would scare the living crap out of anyone. Rob coming at you with an Elmo.
I would almost do it, except Elmo was a pedophile. The
that's true.
Elmo was a pedophile. But then again, a doll that used to be handled by a pedophile chasing a pedophile down the road, there's a little bit of weird justice there.
There is kind of a weird justice to that, but yeah, I agree with you. We might, because then they might get the wrong idea and think they can tickle you. It's tickle me, Elmo. Hey, pal, you
Oh,
just stay awake.
what a place we live in. What a
Yeah.
place we live in. And I apologize to everybody for being in my vehicle. I'm working on lights and stuff in it, and new vehicle, hooking stuff up. And I thought, it's nice and warm in here. I'm just going to sit in here. And I did it last time in the truck. Worked better. Didn't realize how dark it was outside.
No, actually, the last couple of times you did it in the truck, the microphone, the sound, the audio is incredible coming across. So I don't know what
Cool.
it is about the truck. It really boosts that and stuff. But so where do you live where do you live exactly? I maybe don't give the exact street or something, but give an idea where you live and what kind of neighborhood you're in.
North Bend,
I'll learn
nice
this
neighborhood.
exactly
A lot of
where you live.
retired people. In fact, I'm almost at a point where it's like, yeah, I will give my exact address. Come and get me. I'm actually thinking of leaving a bag of cans in the front yard with a note that says, I freaking dare you. I'm actually giving some thought to that. Hey, by their own free will, they'd be coming on my property. I'm not encouraging them to do it. They have free will to not do it. But I live in North Bend. I live in a beautiful little community. Like I say, a lot of retired people, nice houses. There's no derelicts. There's no burnt out. But it doesn't look like the rest of Coos Bay and North Bend, with all the abandoned buildings and bums sleeping everywhere. We don't get that. But it's a bigger street, I guess. So we do get a lot of bums going by it all the time. And they're bums. Let's stop again with the whole homeless nonsense, because they're not homeless. And this Eugene Moy piece of garbage, who's committed no less than 4 or 5 felonies in the past month or two that we know of, and probably 5 to 10 more misdemeanors, who's a unregistered sex offender, who he diddled a 12-year-old years ago is what it was. I hear from one of his family.
He's a total pedo.
Oh yeah, no, like he absolutely should. Oregon's an assisted suicide state, and guys like that should just take up the offer. It's there. There's people that'll chip in for it. He needs to go. I don't even know where I was going with that. I'm just so infuriated with the whole thing.
No, I totally get that. I totally get that. And because really we're wasting our money, and you look at any studies, you look at what the psychiatrists say, and they will tell you, you can't take whatever the sickness is with these kids or these people who are attracted to kids. You can't take it out of their head. It's always going to be there. They're always going to have this attraction. So my question is, why do we allow them to even breathe? Why do we allow them to even be part of society? And part of that is because they've closed the jails and the prisons in Oregon. They've literally have shut down the mental facilities. And I don't even know if I want them to go to mental facilities, because if, it's one thing to have this disease, but then they act on this disease. Yeah. And it's like, at that point in time, you should be taken out of society. And I don't want you to go to a mental facility where it's going to be all nice and green grass and showers and all that good stuff. No, I want you to experience prison. It should be a capital crime, just like murder is. Like you've killed innocents, you've killed youth. If you molest a child, you've destroyed them for the rest of their lives. You've destroyed their progeny. You have created a wave of disaster, of despair, of death that goes for generations. You have changed the course of history for that person and everybody that's to come from them for the remainder of history. Like you have done that to the same level that committing a murder would do to somebody. And these people need to be treated as the capital offenses that they've committed. Isn't Florida doing something where they're talking about starting to put some vaults or some bullets through child molesters? Did I hear that right? Anybody else know? They were going to castrate them. Wasn't Florida? And that doesn't work either. So we have a good friend. Yeah, we have a good friend that they used to work in, and I won't give away who they are, but they were really high up in the state dealing with these people on a specific level. And they flat out said, like, oh, no, the castration doesn't work. This is a mental thing. This isn't just like a chemical thing. It is absolutely a mental thing. But I'm saying castrate them anyway to start with.
So Jeff makes that point that it's not a disease, it's a deviant perversion, and I agree. But if you look at it from a disease perspective, like Rob, do you have that graphic I put up there, the sex offender one, the map? Let me get it. Add to stage. Like, there you go. if you looked at this and don't look at sex offender, imagine this was like a map for COVID. If it was 2021 and this was COVID, Oregon would be doing all this crazy shit to prevent the virus of COVID from infecting all of us, right? But because it's sex offenders, they're not doing anything. And they should treat it like a fucking virus and deal with it. And they should take all the emergency provisions that they did for COVID and start changing laws, start changing how we interact with sex offenders, and get them the hell out of our community, just like they tried to with COVID. And I don't like, an overreaching government, right? We didn't like what happened with COVID, but like the hypocrisy is out there, like if you're able to do that for COVID, for something that really wasn't affecting as many people as this epidemic is, I mean, it's like, it's absolutely insane. They won't treat it the same.
But that's kind of the debate that they're having, and this is where you get the libtards, the bleeding hearts arguing to defend these people. They, and is it a disease? Is it an active choice? Is it, from deviant perversion? And I would argue that it's a little of both, but I think it's definitely a disease. I think it's a mind disease, and if you can qualify it as that, then, like you said, COVID was a disease, and we put people in lockup for that. So why not?
Why are we not, discussing this as if it's emergency? And I'm not saying we need to like take away everyone's rights in our communities and have curfews and all that in order to solve this, but like, let's at least have the conversation, or at least agree that it's an absolute emergency. And Oregon has maps like this for almost every metric. I know homelessness, housing, taxes, cost of living, like bad roads, like bad schools, like every metric across the board. It could be the same exact colored map where we just suck, and they're not treating this like an emergency. And for some reason, maybe because they steal the elections, we keep electing the same people to run this government. And it has to stop. It has to reverse course. It has to. Or like we've been saying, something bad is going to happen. Something really bad is going to happen.
We have to go to the bathroom. More time worried about plastic styrofoam containers and plastic straws than they do sex offenders of children. They spend more time campaigning for that stuff than they do. Like, why aren't there campaigns like know your neighbors, know who's around you, and this protecting the bad guys, like where you can't disseminate mugshots anymore. I've never seen anything like that anywhere in the world, man, where you can't get mugshots, current mugshots of bad guys, because honest to God, the thought behind it is when they turn their life around and don't be shitbags anymore, this might hinder them by having their mugshots out there. How about it's a great disincentive to be a shitbag and a molester and a criminal? How about plaster those mugshots all over the place? This is one of the most beautiful places on earth, and it is just weak and disgusting.
See, that's just it. They're breaking the social norms by trying to make this normal, by making this normal behavior. Yeah. And the fact is that those of us who are normal, who are seeing this as what it is, it's insanity. We're the ones who are now being accused of being the criminals because, oh no, you want to go after these people they're just minor attracted people. They're maps. They're not even, it's not even a disease. It's just they're born with that preference, and we can't, because, we're all born equal. We can't go after them because, they're no more bad than you are because you're attracted to women, and this is the kind of normalcy that they're trying to place on pedophilia. And it's like, no, it's something that affects a very small percentage of society, and it affects men and women, just not equally. Just there's a lot fewer women pedophiles, but there are women pedophiles out there.
I just can't even believe you can't get the information. Like you mentioned, the mugshots. I mean, the Oregon State Police put out a sex offender registry, and there's like 32,000, I believe, in the state of Oregon, and they only have about 2,000 on that registry because they're the highest level sex offender. But getting information on anyone who's like a level 1 or level 2 in that 30,000 group is next to impossible. Because I've tried to get information like I'll look up a sex offender, and I want to know exactly what the crime is. Like you mentioned, this guy diddled a 12-year-old. It's like, well, I want to know exactly what happened. And getting that information is so freaking difficult, timely. It takes weeks and weeks at best. and it costs money. And that's insane. We should have access to that information.
Yeah,
At our
absolutely.
fingertips.
They truly do protect the deviant criminal element. I mean, it's like they protect them. It's not, well, sometimes they protect them. They do. Now, whether that is fully by design or it's just, the end of unintended consequences, it doesn't matter how they got there. They do protect these criminal deviants that hurt children, like people that hurt women and children shouldn't still be with us.
no. And just for the reasons that you stated earlier, you not being at your house when these two weirdos come back to seek revenge, that's usually the typical story. And you know what I mean? I think that was the storyline for Death Wish. Wasn't that with Charles Bronson? Yeah. You know what I mean? And it starts off with nobody gets arrested. Crime and criminals are allowed to flourish. And then Charles Bronson come home and his wife's been killed. His daughter's been raped. And now he has to become a vigilante, go out and kill a bunch of people. And we don't want it to get to that. That's why we're here doing this. You know what I mean?
No, we want to be left alone. I don't want people stealing my mail. I don't want people taking my shit. I want to be left alone. That's all I want. That's all I want. Just, I want to be left alone. But when you come on my property, when you take my property, when you put my property, my safety, my family's safety in any kind of danger, now I have to get involved. But again, like we were saying earlier, like nobody here does. Nobody here does. Oh, there's nothing you can do. Stop talking then. Stop talking.
Right. And that's kind of like the experience we've had now with the city councils. It was like that was literally up to the point where they did do something to the Devereaux Center. They were saying they couldn't do anything to the Devereaux Center all the way up to the point until they did something. It's amazing how that finally happened. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
MJKT double knot here says, and they don't always put repeat offenders on the most likely to reoffend list. I knew of a woman who had offended multiple times, but was considered a low offender. Pisses me off to no end. And there's the other thing is that they also, for women sex offenders, they always get a much lighter sentence than the men sex offenders for committing the same crimes. Teachers are a good example.
Well, and again, you look across the nation, we're getting kind of away from the local thing, but it's always like a 24 to 35-year-old female teacher. And they're typically attractive. They're typically attractive women that are banging high school kids. Like what is wrong in your brain that you're doing that? And they should go away. The 16-year-old jock has got bragging rights for the rest of his life. I mean, life isn't equal. That's just but she still committed a crime. She still violated a minor. She still changed the course of that young man's life all the way through. We can't take sex crimes light on any level. And we have a tendency to, again, I see, these teachers do it. It's like, oh yeah, he was 16 or 17. Oh yeah, he's real traumatized. But he is. But he is.
Right. And it's just the thing. It's he doesn't realize it because, like I said, any 16-year-old having sex with a 35-year-old attractive woman, like you said, he thinks he's got a score. But the fact is that she just used her authority to manipulate a young man into a relationship that he normally wouldn't have been manipulated in if she wasn't in a position of authority over him.
Yes.
And that's really the basis of the problem, is that it's a power trip for these women, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't thought of it that way, but that does make perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But getting back to this local thing, and let's go back to the Devereaux Center. I was just talking about the Devereaux Center. Have you two heard anything on where it's going? What's going to happen with that?
I hear lots of stuff, but I don't know, what to believe. I haven't heard anything from someone official. I do know that most of the grants that would be available for them to swipe out of our hands have been dished out already, so they don't have that opportunity. But the Baloney Boys Ranch was an opportunity for them. I don't know if they're still seeking that. That's like 2 miles south of the 42 split towards Bandon. It's outside of town. On the 101. But people have said that they might be moving to another building at Newmark and things like that. I would imagine they're going to make a comeback. I mean, these people don't go away. It's
their identity.
Yeah. And
it's their livelihood.
It's their
Yeah.
identity. I that's exactly it. They become attached to. It's like the nurse. What's that disease? Is it Munchausen disease, where they hurt a patient so they can help a patient and then get the comfort of the
Yeah, it was
reward of helping a
Munchausen by
patient?
proxy.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's literally what these homeless bleeding heart people are doing.
yeah,
It's that same type of thing. They feel like they're achieving something and they're doing something, but yet they're really enabling the worst type of behavior of all. And that in itself is why I think Bandon is a much safer town and has much less crime than Coos Bay does, is because they have the main enabling center, and we don't have that here in Bandon.
right.
I don't know how to explain that for Coquille, which has a higher crime rate, and North Bend. Well, I guess that's self-explanatory because Devereaux is right there.
Yep.
Coquille gets screwed because they take them all to the jail, and when they get booked and released, they get put right onto the
Yeah.
streets of Coquille. So that's really unfortunate for that town.
You know those tubes that you have at banks and stuff, where you put your money deposit in those little containers? They should have a system like that for the bums. Just
Yeah.
put them in ampules and just boom, shoot them where they need to go. I don't know what happens to them along the way.
Florida, Utah.
Yes. Oh, Pacific Ocean. You
There you
talk about Munchausen by proxy. I think there's, and maybe I'm oversimplifying and I'm just not smart enough to know this, but between that Munchausen by proxy, where it becomes their identity, they have to have something to latch onto that they can make better. It's their identity. And then you
Right.
have the Stockholm syndrome, which I see here all the time.
Oh yeah,
People-
yeah.
So yeah, people here don't realize that they are victims, that they are hostages of this crime, that it's like this everywhere. Oh, there's nothing you can do. And we even see it in law enforcement. I remember a few years ago, I was starting to see these Facebook posts where they've got, Officer so-and-so of the so-and-so PD giving a pair of fresh socks to a homeless man on the street. Oh, the guy covered with piss and lice, who's a sex offender. Are you talking about that guy? Yeah, that's a freaking Stockholm syndrome, man. Like you are now seeing through the eyes of your captors. You are now starting to agree with them and realize, like, oh, they're just good people and I have to be on their side. No, man. And we're not talking about homeless people. We're talking about criminal bums. They are the enemy. But we have the Stockholm syndrome where everybody's just, they're just all people. Nope. Some of them are animals, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, some of them are definitely feral humans.
Yep.
Chris, you want to respond to that? You look like you have a thought.
Oh, I always have thoughts. Well, he mentioned that they're our enemy, and I always tell people there's going to be criminals all the time. There's always been criminals throughout history. There will continue to always be criminals. So our real enemy is actually our government. It's the government who's in our way and is not being effective. They're not handling this situation, and they're not allowing us to handle it the way we would like to. And they're our true enemy. And we are a government by the people. So we need to, I don't know, I don't want to get political, but like we do need to step up. We do need to step up in our neighborhoods and not be the cucks that you talk about. We absolutely do. You need to know your neighbors and have a system that you can all respond if there's an issue. But we also need to step up and take back our government, because that's actually the main enemy. We have a government that prohibits our society from functioning properly. Like that's a travesty, to put it lightly.
Yeah. We do have a government who's failed in its job. And well, look what's happened with California, with the fires. That's literally what's happening in Oregon and California with crime and these street criminals that they're calling homeless. And it's part of that Stockholm syndrome and identifying with the criminal. And what kills me is they're empathizing with the criminal without empathizing with the victim of that same criminal. That's what blows my mind, is that they don't see the harm this person is doing while empathizing with that person. And I think that's part of what they've done to society and these young people. You know what I mean? It's like communism, how they love communism and shit. Well, we got to love the homeless people just the same way. And they don't differentiate the actual homeless family who's in need between that street criminal who's out there committing crimes.
And dare I say, we're not dealing with homeless people here. We're not. We're dealing with the bums. We're dealing with the criminal vagrant. Vagrancy was a crime for like ever. Like if you were just like a dirty bum wandering around up to no good, that in itself was a crime. And now again, we empathize with them. We love them. We give them all the free stuff they want. The hospitals are filled with them. You know, they talk about, oh, local hospitals not making enough money. Why the hell do you think that is?
Right.
Yeah, I would love to know the numbers of transients and criminal bums that they have to treat at these local facilities. I would love to know that. And they have to. They can't turn it down by law. And they get a pittance from the government here and there for them. But at the end of the day, these people destroy economies. They destroy cultures. They destroy families. They're bad. You know, if someone's got like a serious problem, I'll gladly help them. And I did, and I tried. I had a couple bums I was raising in Charleston, like little pets. I'm being facetious. But I took them under my wing, like, yeah, I'll help you guys out. And it just turned out they were just dirty, filthy criminal bums. And it's like, oh, they don't actually want help. And I got to the point where they told me, like, oh, we kind of like our life. This is what we do. This is who we are. Fair enough, man. Absolutely. I understand that. I don't understand it from like ever wanting to do that, but I appreciate you being honest and forthright with me. These people, this criminal element we're talking about, they do not want to change their lives. They don't want to better themselves. They don't want to go and get a job. They don't want to have a proper family. They don't. This whole nonsense of, you don't know what happened to them. You don't know what caused them to come down this path. Nah, I'm pretty sure it was drugs. Pretty sure it was drugs.
Right.
And they made that first decision to do that.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure it's drugs and alcohol. And what kills me is what you just said. Oh, you don't know what they've experienced. I came from a pretty poor place in Fort Worth. It was a pretty poor place that we lived. It was where the poor white people lived there. Then the poor black people moved in, and then the poor Mexicans moved in. They actually fixed the place up a little bit, but my grandmother stayed throughout this whole changing of the neighborhood, and it's still a pretty lower middle income neighborhood. And a lot of the kids there, they're in gangs. They're on drugs. I've got an uncle who's 10 years older than I am, damn near 70 years old, and he's never going to stop not being a junkie. He's a junkie. There's just no polite way to say it. And I've got a cousin who's a crackhead who lives in a shed in Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana, behind my aunt's house. He's 3 years older than me, and he lives in a shed. And I'm ashamed of this. But I'm not going to deny it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to deny it. And people who say, well, you don't understand, bullshit. I grew up with it. I grew up around drugs. I grew up around the violence that it's caused, the destruction of the family, the destruction of society. And you know what I even get more pissed off at is this, and this is something Trump is doing, and I see a lot of people on the right, they want to blame China, bringing in all this fentanyl. What about the freaking people who choose to do it? This is what pisses me off every damn time. And they go, Rob, you don't understand. It's a disease. No, fucking cancer is a disease, and nobody picks up a pipe and smokes cancer. They pick up a pipe and they smoke fentanyl, man.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I gotta write that down. Oh my gosh, that's the most brilliant thing I've ever heard. It's not a freaking. I'm so tired of the disease, because if it's a disease, you can't help it. It's not you. I remember watching was it not Facts of Life with Mr. Drummond, and what you talking about, Willis? What was it? Different Strokes. I remember they were interviewing the Willis, whatever his real name is in real life. I remember this is like years ago. I was young, and they're interviewing him, and I remember he came out and he said, well, I didn't know at the time that I was predisposed to, and then I had the gene for alcoholism. And that's when I realized that the world was nuts and everybody's making excuses for stuff. I had the gene for alcoholism. There's a genetic component to it. Well, then just don't do it. How many hundreds of millions of people have been throughout American history that have had it worse than all these skivvy bums we have around here, and none of them have turned to drugs. None of them are smoking cancer.
Right. Well, this was okay. Let me add to the story. Both of the children of my uncle and my cousin, all of them are vehemently opposed to drugs and drinking. They will not go near any drugs because they saw what it did to their parents. Now, if this is true, it's a disease and it's transmitted genetically, then how can the children of these druggies, one has 4 kids, one has 2. I don't know how they found the time to have kids, and I don't know what woman would have kids with these people, but they did. And yet all the children themselves are vehemently opposed to drugs. In fact, several of them are in law enforcement, or one of them is an assistant DA. and they grew up with a father who was drug addicted, both, the set of four and the set of two, and they all came out to be great. So if there's a drug gene, why didn't it pass to them? Why aren't they druggies?
Brilliant.
They made a choice. They
They
made
made
a
a choice.
good choice in life. I mean, it's just like somebody who's handicapped. Like if I didn't have a leg, does that stop me from doing things in life and being successful and being a good part of society? No, I make a choice to say, nope, this disability is not going to harm me. And that's even if you just assume that this, alcoholism gene is a disability or that it even exists. But it's a choice.
I'll drink to
they
that.
make a shitty fucking choice or they make a good choice. And that's life. Life is about choices.
Yep.
And that's just it.
Cheers.
I forgot to say,
Lame guy with a
on Friday
lame
night.
guy with a water bottle.
You
I
know
have in my
what?
vehicle
we
too,
need
though, so.
we need Doug Washington to start driving around and do some like live PD action.
PD action.
Interview some grown ass men on bikes.
Pull them over. Do you know me? Do you know me?
Bicycle confiscation unit, bum, on the ground. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Oh gosh. And they'll always kill you. They're always going to kill you. And they always use the N word. Why is it every tweaker calls every white guy you MFN? Like what? It's dark out, but I'm pretty light complected.
Okay, I get called, and I'm not gonna. I hate when they say the N word, nigger. Okay, let's just say it. It's the word nigger, and I know I'm gonna get shit for using it. It's a disgusting word.
That clip is gonna be put on.
Yep.
And you did it while my face is on camera. And we just went through this. All of us just went through this like a week ago, getting called racist.
But the thing is that black people use the word. I used to have black friends and we'd call each other nigger and it wasn't a big deal. I mean, they were black people and it was like, I don't understand you white Oregonians. This is the problem. Rob grew up in Texas. Maybe he was around Mexicans. I don't know. And black people. But when you're around black people and Mexicans and people of other races, you joke about things like that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
when I moved here, it's like they're too damn white. That's the problem.
Just some good fun. Just some good fun, some nasty things being thrown. It's no different than two guys of the same culture calling each other something. It doesn't even have to have anything to do with race. Like it doesn't become about race. Oh, we'd tease each other, man. We'd have so much fun. Oh my gosh, I'd tell stories.
Your mama's so fat. Remember the yo mama so fat jokes?
Yeah.
I mean,
when she sits around the house, she sits around the house. Your mama's so fat she has her own zip code. Yeah.
Yep.
We should have a show where we just roast these ferals and do your mom jokes on them. There you go. A whole show, a whole 2-hour episode, just your mom jokes on some of these freaking criminal homeless idiots.
Well,
Grown ass
here's
men
what
riding around on bikes stealing.
I like that idea. Just live stream the whole night.
Well, I'm really hoping someone is going to send this video to old Eugene and his girlfriend Sherry, and they're going to get upset about this. Because I do want to embarrass them, and it goes back to the mug shots. We're not shaming these people enough, and that they see these leftists, these bleeding hearts. They want to get rid of the stigma that comes with behaving badly. And if you get rid of that stigma, then you basically have said bad behavior is okay because there's no stigma, and we're all just going to accept it. And it goes all the way extended to pedophilia. Oh, well, pedophilia. Well, we got to accept that at some point as well. And I truly believe that's why they're doing this. Many, the gay agenda, the trans agenda and stuff. But we've got to stop that. We've got to start making things that used to be unacceptable still unacceptable. And one of those things is anyone over 18 still riding a bike. Like we were saying earlier, if you're a man and you're over 18 and you're riding a freaking bike,
like that is your main mode of transportation. And then when your bicycle gets taken away from you, you switch to a skateboard. Like you have failed. You have fundamentally failed at every aspect of life. But the Devereaux Center looks after them. All these little warming centers and these, like, here's a sex offender. Here's a guy who had sex with he molested a 12-year-old girl at some point in his life. And they let him into these buildings at night and give him heat and give him food because he's a human. No, he's not. He's not.
It might have been a 12-year-old boy. Might have been.
Say again.
Might have been a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Don't assume
Very
gender.
true.
Don't assume.
Don't-
Never assume gender.
Well, we've got two now. Back to the great president. We've
Yep.
now back to two. Lenny says, my mom was homeless before it was cool. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well put. I love that. You know, your followers, my followers, we have some of the greatest minds that
Oh,
this
yeah.
world possesses, just in regular everyday folk. Every day I'm reading stuff that people write on your posts, on my posts, and it's just brilliant. And sometimes it's brilliant in its simplicity. Sometimes there's, an acerbic wit with it that is just will have me in hysterics, like, oh my gosh, like, how do we tap into this? But just regular people. That's so often living here, I look around and go, how the frick do we become a superpower? Because we couldn't do it again. We couldn't do it again, just looking around. But then you're interacting with these people and it's like, yeah, we're like the best and brightest, man. We're America, for crying out loud. And where we live right now is not America. It's some weird third world offshoot of America that we allow to fester and wallow in disease. And that's just not right. We should be prouder of our nation. We should care about our neighbors. We should care about our families, care about strangers. And we don't. We're taking the lowest common denominator. Bring back bullying.
Yes.
When you don't bully people and shame them, they become like they are. The weak are in charge, man. The weak are in charge.
Right.
And that needs to change. It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. It's really going to mess up society going down the
Yep.
road, and it's I don't understand. I think back because me and you, Rob, are about the same age, and I think going back to high school.
35?
Yeah, 35. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, that's about right. You're a little older than me, but but yeah, going back to high school, these kids come out. Oh yeah, I want to be a girl. I'm a girl now. I mean, could you imagine how would that go over in a gym in 1984? Some kid, I am a
It
girl
would happen
now.
once. It would happen once. They may have to move after that, but the kid would fly straight after that. That would be a valuable lesson learned.
Yeah. Wow, John Smith. I'm not sure how to take this. He says, "How dare you say that to my face?" Well, I'd say to yours back, but I've only got a half a tank of gas, Al Bundy. I think he's talking about me. I think he was talking about me. I don't know.
But Al Bundy is one of the greatest minds of our time.
Yes, it's hard to find Married with Children anymore. They really went politically incorrect on us. But it says Doug lives in a real America, which no longer exists except in small pockets. I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of places that are real America. I think it's more than just small pockets.
Yeah, no, and you're right. And I think we forget that. There's huge tracts of expanse in this great nation of ours that doesn't deal with the stuff that we deal with here. There's a reason Chris's map is dark in the People's Republic of Oregon. And I often pronounce it with an E because this place is so far gone. It's just nuts. We talk about the new administration politics, but still local. And people are excited, like, yeah, it's going to bring change. It's not here. Not here. It's not going to. It will not bring change here locally. It'll be very, very few things that can be changed. There are these enclaves of anti-American, pro-deviant behaviors, and that's where we live. And I don't know if it'll ever get better. I really don't know.
I don't know. I don't know either. John Smith
We can't give up.
Al Bundy said that to a fat nag. Oh yeah, she was a nagger, unlike the other word I was using.
Still one of the funniest South Park clips in the world. How those guys get away with that stuff, I don't know. I
think it's because they attack everybody. I love South Park. I love the irreverence that they and people look at me and go, well, South Park, you're really sick and disturbed to be watching that. No, it's actually when you watch South Park, the rest of the real world makes a lot more sense.
It's historically accurate. They take the cause of the day and they twist it around to a different viewpoint, to like a more realistic viewpoint than reality. Like when cartoons have more reality than where we live, something's wrong.
Something's wrong. Something seriously wrong. Yeah, I totally get that. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do you
I don't know. Chris, where do we go?
Do I have to solve this all by myself?
Yeah,
Yes, you do.
Yeah,
I'm
you
drinking, so you know.
hey, I'm drinking too.
Okay.
Somebody asked what I'm drinking. It's some sort of fancy IPA from Deschutes. Is that how you say it?
Oh, did you put an umbrella in it? You should have probably put a tampon in it. What the hell is that crap?
It's
Is
hoppy.
that IPA?
Yeah.
Is IPA? IPA stands for intense pee aroma because every IPA I've ever come near smells like urine.
I don't typically like bend over and smell my own pee, but yes, I feel like that could be. It does look like asparagus. The hops. It looks like asparagus.
Well done. Oh.
No,
That's
but
from that special brew.
we've got to work on like things in parallel. You know what I mean? There's not one solution that fixes all this, but
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned it. Like, get to know your neighbors. You know, have a system in place that if something goes down, you guys can respond, right? Like, you know when each other are out of town. So if you see something going on at a house that people are not there, then you need to go over and investigate. Have stuff by your door ready to go. Have a go bag. Yeah, we got to be smart about it because there's no one else looking out for our community right now.
No, there's not. There's not.
But then we also do have to fight the political battle. I mean, we can't just say, oh, let's have a revolution or like, let's take over and be vigilantes without pursuing like every diplomatic option first.
Right.
And as I know that there have been people who've tried very hard, but I genuinely believe that there's a little more we can do. We can push a little harder. And I'm hopeful that we can actually turn the ship around. And then if we've shown it a really good effort, sure. Then we can revolt, right? Because we've shown the world that we tried our darndest. But yeah, there's and changing the narrative, and that's what shows like this is about. But changing the narrative around it helps because the bleeding hearts, right? Oh, we're all just one paycheck away from homelessness and blah blah blah. And it's like, let's figure out how many of them that are out there, the grown ass men riding around with bikes stealing mail. Like, how many of them have out-of-state warrants and are committing crimes that are not being prosecuted properly? Because what if 99% of that element out there that's really destroying our communities is criminal and not at all homeless? Or the homeless might overlap with the criminal, but if you treat them as criminals, it doesn't matter whether they have a home or not. They're criminals and they need to be dealt with. We need a criminal justice system that actually works and functions here, or we're fucked. So, in a nutshell, those three paths in parallel, amongst some other things, are going to be successful if we try at it. But we're going to need more people. It's going to need much more than just the three of us.
Well, and maybe
there are people,
like this, maybe it does encourage somebody. Maybe somebody goes, well, yeah, if this redneck living in North Bend who goes chasing shitbags with an axe handle, well, if he can do it, well, why can't I? Why didn't I do it last time somebody was in my neighbor's yard? Why didn't I do it when that guy was trying to break into my garage? And I have had people in the past few years approach me. One gentleman who I respect and admire him very, very much. And he goes, Rob, Doug, whichever. He goes, I didn't realize how weak I became. And you've enlightened me to it. And I feel horrible for what I've let happen over the past several years. Born and raised this area. And he just kind of fell into that malaise of like, well, nothing you can do. Go in my life, just drive past it. I was like my 5th year here. And there was a scummy, skivvy shitbag bum in my neighborhood. And I was driving home from work. It was like year 5. And I just drove by him. And I got another 2 blocks down the road. And I thought I was almost at my house. And I was like, oh my gosh. I went past him like it was like I didn't even really notice it. And I told myself right then and there, no, this is a time of recompense. I have to, at this point in my life, never allow this to become normalized in my mind or in society. So I spun back around, talked to him, said, hey man, there's really nothing here for you. You probably want to move along, just beat feet out of here. And he didn't. And that's fine. And then he came back another time, and then I caught him on my property, and that went really, really bad. Another story for another day. And then he learned a valuable lesson. But I, for a brief moment in year 5, just ignored a bum in my neighborhood and drove by it like it was no big deal. Can't do that. You can't allow yourself to be blinded by what's going on. You can't allow evil and deviance to become normalized. Whether it's in your thoughts or the reality of the world around you, you cannot allow this stuff to happen.
And that's the biggest point. Like that if you're not able to like stand up and physically resist, or you don't have a voice like we do, and that's fine. Like everybody has their own role in this, but every single person, this is what you need to do. You need to say, I do not accept this. I do not accept this on any level, and you shouldn't either. And that's what you need to do in every conversation in your mind. And when you talk to people about this, don't accept it. It's not acceptable. At no point should people be assuming that this is some sort of acceptable way that society should function, because it's not.
Yeah. I'll have you know, I am known here in Bandon for, I will stop my car on 101 if I see one of the guys with a shopping cart, and I will dump their shit out of the shopping cart. And I've actually made a couple of them take the shopping cart back to the store. I've actually got them to do that. And most of the time I end up having to take it back myself. But you'll find that in Bandon, nobody's walking around here with shopping carts, because I immediately grab them and take them. Now, I couldn't do that in Coos Bay because it's just too big, too many of them and stuff.
Yep.
But here in Bandon, I can do that. And it's amazing how it's just a little town. And I live right behind the grocery store. There's the Dollar Tree, the Dollar Store, the Dollar General, and Ray's are all together. Rite Aid is up there. And I live right behind them. And they'll come right down my street with a shopping cart. And I'm probably up to about 10 or so. And I go out there and I'll grab the shopping cart and I'll, what are you doing? You're stealing this. I'm taking this back. No, I'm using this. And my favorite is they'll go, oh, the manager said I could use it. No, nobody said that. You're a lying bastard. Okay. So, and I'll take the shopping cart. And like I said, sometimes I've actually made them take it back. I think
good for you.
Do shit like that. Yeah.
You know, to that end with the shopping carts, somebody left one in my yard last year. It was probably about 10 months ago. Left it in the front yard. He knows where it's going. And I don't want to say what business it was, cash and carry, or probably not cash and carry, a grocery outlet. Don't want to say that it was grocery outlet. I will not mention it was grocery outlet. I won't mention that I called grocery outlet 3 days in a row and pleaded with them to come and get their shopping cart. I won't say that it was grocery outlet. And they never came. They had an excuse every time. Well, we're kind of busy right now. Thanks for calling. Hey, if you bring it by, that would be great. That's not my job. Then the second day, they said, oh, you know, I think there's a number with the police department. If you call them, I think they would bring it back. And the third day, I was told, yeah, the owner manager's vehicle, his truck is broken down right now, so he can't come and get it. 3 days in a row, I had their stolen property in my yard, and they didn't give two shits about it. So if somebody steals my vehicle, pulls it in your front yard, and sets it on fire, that's still my property. I've got to get that crap off of your property. That's my responsibility. But apparently here, so I see that now. Now I have this whole different attitude with the shopping carts. Now it's kind of an F you. I hope this costs you a bunch. But then they just pass the cost on to shoppers. But yeah, don't want to say that it was grocery outlet on in Coos Bay. Don't want to say that. But 3 days in a row I called them and nobody showed any interest whatsoever in picking up that cart. So what I've done is I've kept that cart. I took a 50-pound bag of topsoil. I put it inside of it. I poked holes in it. I planted cucumbers in that mofo, and I have a mobile shopping cart cucumber. Freaking, I don't know, whatever the hell it is. But
so when we see you in the Elmo outfit pushing your shopping cart of vegetables, we'll know what's going on. Okay.
Festooned with cucumbers, like no joke. It was the best growing thing in my yard.
A bum garden.
Doing it again this year. I might get more shopping carts. We'll see.
And that was the other thing that pissed us off, is that there were a lot of stores who wouldn't take the shopping carts back or do anything or press charges. In fact, there was a local business, and I won't mention the business's name, who they were wanting me to watch their place because they knew I went out on patrol and stuff. And I didn't find him, but there was somebody who was stealing from them. They did catch the guy stealing from them, and they refused to press charges. And I told them, well, why the hell would you have me watch your property if you ain't going to do anything about it? Screw you.
The shopping cart thing really pisses me off. It's such a simple, like, cut and dry. It's a crime. Like, you stole the cart. And I've talked about this at city council meetings and commissioner meetings and stuff. And like, they just like, I put the picture up there for you, Rob, from the Coos Bay Library. Like, you go into the library and they've got shopping carts in the library. That's a Walmart shopping cart. And like, so I'm like, okay, what do I do? Right? Like, do I want to be a good citizen? So I call the cops, right? I call the non-emergency line and I tell them, and the tone of these ladies on the phone is that I'm the asshole, right? I'm the asshole for reporting that there's a shopping cart stolen from Walmart and it's in the library filled with bum paraphernalia. And they don't send anybody out. Like, I'll send it over to the people on duty. Okay, I wait an hour, nothing. Okay, I call back. Is there anybody coming? Oh, they're busy right now. Okay, I wait another hour. I've waited in the library for hours just to test the system and see if they're going to do anything about it, and they don't. Like, and that's a stolen. Like, if that was some old lady's purse and these guys had stolen it, they'd do something about it.
Right.
And it's total bullshit. I think I have another photo I can put up. It was a different day, but same situation in the library. This one was nuts. It's like, this stuff that he was pulling out of this cart and putting all over the furniture was disgusting. It smelled so bad and it was wet. So it's like soaking into the fabric of this furniture at the library. And I asked this guy, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why do you think that this is acceptable? And he tells me that he bought this cart from another bum who bought it from McKay's, and he pulls out of his wallet a card that's apparently signed by like the CEO of McKay's, and it says that it's, this cart now belongs to Lonnie Scudder. And I'm like, well, are you Lonnie Scudder? And he's like, no, I bought it from Lonnie Scudder. And I'm like, dude, get the fuck out of here. And it's like, it doesn't work. I mean, I'm gonna get kicked out by telling this guy to get the fuck out of there, right? And
I think I bought a bridge from that Lonnie guy.
Yep.
Yeah, right. I bought a cop car from Lonnie Scudder. It's mine now. I get woo.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow. Folks, don't move to Coos County. Don't bring your families here. Don't bring your families to Coos County. Don't move to Coos Bay, North Bend.
And the librarians allow this. The librarians he didn't sneak in the door with a shopping cart. You can't sneak in a door with a shopping cart. So they allow this. And then they ask the public to fund a new $35 million library,
For even maybe more room.
Take care of the one that you have.
Right. Take care of the one you have. So Jeffrey says, and this is something that I posted recently. There's a bill in the legislature, and you're going to love this. He says Kotex is pushing to make failure to register as a sex offender a violation instead of a misdemeanor, and that's one of the bills that's going through the legislation right now. And it's not just this failure to register as a sex offender. There was like 6 other misdemeanor charges that they're trying to lower to just a violation. You're going to get a ticket. We'll give you.
You know what that'll do? That'll attract them from other states because they can come here, and it's a sanctuary state for sex offenders. Then they won't have to register. They won't get in trouble. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's already like that. They're just going to add more fuel to the fire. We'll double our numbers. We'll stay number one forever. We're number one in criminals. We're number one in, like you said, sex offenders, number one in syphilis. Our syphilis numbers are really good. We do really good at syphilis. I didn't even know syphilis was still a thing. I thought like something that died out in the 1800s, not in Oregon.
Yeah, that sounds like something from the Vietnam era, the Vietnam guys coming back with some Hanoi syphilis, that turns their dick purple. Oh, you don't have to cut it off. It'll fall off by itself.
Yeah. And here we are.
Bad jokes. It's not getting any better, and the whole shopping cart thing, that's just a perfect example of where we have failed. I'll put up this other picture here that you got. Oh wow.
This was just a couple days ago. Rob and Sam Adams from the Neighborhood Watch Group and we go out and we found the biggest, and this was actually after walking. This was the biggest camp I've ever seen in my life. It's It was acres, and this
That was
is
bad.
only maybe a third of it.
Yeah.
The video
We're
is
all
longer. and
we're
it's
all
all
one
down that
paycheck
canyon.
away from rolling in our own feces and living out there, right?
Yeah, but I've been that way all my life and yet still haven't hit bottom. So I don't know what they're talking about. That's funny they say that.
Wait till you see all
Wow.
the bike parts. I mean, I would say there was probably parts from, I don't know, 50 to 100 bikes.
Holy crap,
There it is.
man.
Yep.
Was that
This
me
was-
filming or you filming?
One of us. I think we handed off the camera. But yeah, this was insane. This was like,
It looks like it's a landfill.
Yeah.
I called it the bike factory because of how many bike parts there were. And this is just behind Blossom Gulch Elementary School. So if you go take Elrod in Coos Bay and take it all the way to the end there and it goes into the woods, that's where this is.
It was like one of those apocalyptic movies you see where they made camp and something happened to the people. It looks like something moved them along and they just left the remnants of what they were doing. And it was weird because you just saw a playpen. There were playpens, there were kids' toys, and that was really creepy because it's like, was someone actually having kids out here? Because it looks like there were families or groups of people that were living out there in different areas.
And tell me they're not animals. Tell me they're not feral. Look at anybody watching this that has compassion for what this is. You're an idiot. If you're watching this and you have compassion, you're like, oh, these poor people. You are part of the problem. In fact, you are the problem.
Yep.
And that was the bottom of the canyon. I put another video up there and it shows us like entering from the top. And I mean, it was just, I don't know, a half mile of this, that you go off the road here, Elrod, and they've got these little stairs that they built. And then
It's beautiful out there, actually, if they got rid of all this shit.
and then it hits you. And then it just all down this canyon is like this.
I'm taken aback by that. Now, is Facebook letting you keep that stuff up, or they pulled you on it?
No, it's up. Yeah.
Okay, because when my last bum camp I posted, Facebook flagged me for it and censored it.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
I zoomed in on a pile of needles, though. It was hundreds of hypodermic needles. So maybe that was the part that made it not community compliant or whatever. But this is
This
amazing.
part right here, right where you crest this little hill is like, and you go off on this trail down the left, and it's just bum camp after bum camp. And they weren't actually there when we filmed this, except we did run into a few of them that were like cleaning up, they said.
Using their master's degrees in urban engineering. Yeah.
Yes, master's degree in urban living. Yeah, that was, and like I was saying, this is an area where they used to have in walks with students where they could go down the paths, they could study nature, they could get out. It would be a park. They actually still had the stairway going up from one trail to another trail, and now it's nothing but thrashed. It's garbage everywhere, and it's a beautiful area up there. It's really sad.
Used to be like a nature trail for the school.
Yeah.
There's even like old, you can see where the original trail was, and there's a little creek that runs through it that they've totally destroyed. It's disgusting.
Wow.
I think I have that video somewhere too, if I can find it. They're
And-
like blocking up the creek so that they can, I don't know, play in it, bathe in it, drink it. Who knows?
Oh yeah, this was gross. Yeah.
And there's a little neighborhood down, at the end of the stream too. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
we're
they
just
know that
100
this
or
is-
so yards away from houses right here.
Freaking
can hear-
animals.
You can hear kids playing in the background. The one day I was there last spring, they had like recess like going on while I'm there, and there was very active. There was at least like 10, 15 people back there while you have recess going on with school children.
Now, what would the city do to you, Rob, if this was Doug, I'm sorry. Doug, what would the city do to you if your backyard looked like that?
Right? Isn't that the truth? Isn't
Yeah.
that the truth?
They
Wow.
would be on you like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Your neighbors call and complain. They would be sending you fines and all kinds of threats.
And
I mean, these people are committing criminal acts. I mean, from an ecological standpoint, from an environmental standpoint, everybody's all big onto that. Okay, the plastic straws. Oh, look at this shit. Look at this. They ban every plastic straw for the rest of humanity, and this little dump site right here exceeds any damage that those straws would ever do, or negates any advantage to getting rid of plastic straws, which is of course a fallacy. But look at this. Look at this. It looks like a landfill, man. People, that didn't just all happen in a day. These people spent that's probably years in the making.
And this is school district property. This is not private property. This is right here.
Oh, wow.
School District 9 in Coos Bay. And it looks like the school district has in the past couple months kicked these people out of here. So that's like at least a little bit of positivity coming out of it. But how do you clean this up? It's gross.
Yeah, it was bad. And I felt like that Indian back in the 70s with the tear coming down my cheek.
Yeah.
I was standing there crying and nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about it, right? We were standing there. We're like, shouldn't this be a park, or something? Turn this into some useful function. It was not the way it is now.
It was beautiful. It was almost managed the way you should manage a forest, because there was hardly any undergrowth. And part of that, I think, is probably because of the way they've destroyed the undergrowth by moving in all those camps and shit. But ironically,
Wow. That is mind blowing. And I've seen some pretty nasty ones, but you say that is the atomic version. That's the nuclear version of local bum camps. And folks, this happens everywhere. This is all over the place. You can't go, but if any place there's woods, you're going to find that stuff in this county.
And they're closer to your house than you think. 100%.
Right.
Way closer. Way closer. Yep. I was blown away. And once again, I go back to what we were talking about. Take back your neighborhood. I'll add it up just in case anyone forgot. All of those people in that neighborhood who lives right next to those people, stop being a cuck. Take back your neighborhood, please.
Oh, if I lived on that street, the stuff that would happen to those people.
There was one house that you could see in the windows into the house. You could see the whole backyard where you could hear the kids playing, and you got these weirdos camping out. You don't know who the hell they are. Yeah, if I lived in that house, I'm someone who just knows my surroundings better than most people, because I like to go outside and find out what's going on. I would there would be some bad things happening to people in those woods. Yeah.
Because they're committing crimes. They're not just living there minding their own business. They're destroying public property. They're destroying school board property. They're in commission of all kinds of crimes. They have stolen goods. They're in the neighborhoods doing bad stuff. I often talk about hugs and sandwiches, the Devereaux Center. Yeah. Hugs and sandwiches, and it'll fix everybody. I am inspired today, as of right now, I am going to name my axe handle Hugs and Sandwiches. So next time I see shit bags and they're stealing from me, I'm going to ask them, do you guys want hugs and sandwiches? And they're going to get hugs and sandwiches.
Here comes some hugs and sandwiches.
In my Elmo outfit.
That's I used to tell people I was going to name my machete kindness, so I can tell people I'm going to kill them with kindness.
Kill you with kindness. Yeah.
John Smith says, I do not accept this. I agree with you. And Cheryl Armstrong says, I do not accept this. Seriously. And John says, I will vouch for Rob. I've seen him in action. LOL. Well, I don't know which one, but okay. I'll take it.
It was a career in my past. I was young. I needed money.
Okay, we'll go with that. What do you do?
You guys are corrupting me.
Yes, absolutely. That's my job. I'm a very corrupting factor in everyone's life. Yes. What do you do when they live on your street and you are outnumbered because the neighborhood doesn't want to get involved? Wow, I feel sorry for you, Liz. And that is a problem.
You call us. Liz, message me on Facebook. I'll give you my number. And if there's an issue and you need help, you call me. And if I can't do it, I'll find somebody who will. Your neighborhood goes beyond just, the couple blocks around you. So there are people out there that are willing to help.
But that's exactly it there, is that I know all my neighbors on the street. And if we get more than two of the bums gathering at the end of the street where it dead ends before you get to the stores, I will call my neighbor, Missy, and I'll say, Missy, we've got a couple of characters at the end of the street. Would you call the cops? And she'll call the cops. And then I'll call the guy next to her, Steve, and I'll say, Steve, could you call the cops? He'll call the cops. And then,
Nice.
of course, I'll wait 5 minutes and then I'll call the cops. And sure as shit, it don't take 2 minutes to get a squad down there to talk to these people, and they get moving along all of a sudden. And that's working with your neighbors. I couldn't imagine not having neighbors that I could work with. And I live on Division Street. We shouldn't even be getting along here. So I don't know.
But it also helps sometimes just to go, like, I've gone places that people have said this very thing, that like, oh, I can't get my neighbors involved. And I'll go there and I'll knock on doors and I'll talk to the neighbors, and having the right type of conversation at the right time changes everything. And you'd be surprised, and you'll find people who are willing to actually do something. And everybody has their role. So maybe it's just somebody with access to a good spot to put a camera, and that'll help. Or maybe it's somebody who's home all the time and they can be more vigilant and look out the window and call something in. So there's always people that are going to help.
And that's my problem. I got these 2 huge windows on the front of my house, and I work right there in my living room, and so I can see these bastards as soon as they hit either side. So I'm on that stuff. But there's some people.
I like what Lenny said.
What?
What Lenny said. That is good. I like that.
That is true, though. Returning your grocery cart, that distinguishes man from animal. I do believe that. Yes. Cheryl Renee says the dreaded log it for info.
Oh, that was back when we were talking about shopping carts at the library. Yeah, I'll send a deputy right over. Just log that one for info.
Wow.
There lies the problem. They allow it. Yeah, that's true. Jeffrey says all free shit from the Devereaux, etc. Yep. Cheryl says, do our elected officials take a tour?
No. They go for they do walks with the mayor, Jessica Engelke, and Joe Benetti, the mayor of North Bend and Coos Bay. They do like monthly walks, and it's like in nice areas of town, or they did one at the mall this month because it was bad weather.
Do they take recommendations where to go for a walk? Because we should take them where we went to film. That would be a great place. We should tell the mayors, look, we want to take you for a walk on your monthly walk that you do with people, but we want to go on a trail that we of our choosing. Would you be okay with that? And see if they would let us go down that Elrod place. That'd be interesting.
It would be nice, but
you guys are the only reason. So you guys are the only reason that this is coming to light, that bum camp. You guys are the only reason. Nobody would know, nobody would care. And even though the evidence is right there, I don't think you're going to have interest from any elected officials. Nope. It's too much like work.
It's too much like work.
And they'd have to care. They'd have to care. They'd have to give one shit. Just one.
Do they? I mean, is it okay? Hear me out. And I'm not picking sides here. Is it possible they do care, but it's just so beyond the scope of anything that they, I don't know, they're run down with the minutia of everyday life and running a city and doing that. Is it just like, oh my gosh, I can only do so much? That doesn't justify it. But like, what is it? Like, why these things are everywhere? These camps are all over the place. Why are we the only people, you guys in particular, the only people posting this stuff and talking about this stuff? Why is that?
It's rare. I mean, it happens. Like I had coffee last Saturday with someone from the Coos Bay School Board from this school district, and he cared. So like, it's not everybody, but he's one guy fighting a whole council of 7 people and a superintendent. You know what I mean? But no, he like, I talked to him about this, and he looked into it and made sure that the school district was on what's called a property watch program. So the cops that, if they find somebody there, they can trespass them and kick them out of there. So, there are some people who care, but not in Coos Bay and North Bend a lot. Like I hear good things about people on the Coquille City Council and people in Bandon and other cities, Myrtle Point. But Coos Bay and North Bend, man, I've interacted with almost every single one of those city councilors, and we can do a lot better than that.
We can do way better. We can do way better. These are people who are a bunch of ne'er-do-wells. They're goody good doers, thinking that if they could get into office, they could just make everything better. And I love how when they do get into office, and like you said, Rob, oh, it's actual work. We have to do work. Well, we don't get paid for this job. It's a volunteer job. And I've heard that quite often, and I've heard it from the city council of Coos Bay. And the first thing I tell them is, well, then step down. If you don't like the pay, then step down, because nobody forced you to campaign and nobody forced you to take this position. And then they'll say, well, then why don't you do something about this? And you tell them, well, okay, then why did I vote for you if I'm going to do your job for you? That's the other thing. It's not my job to solve the problem. They ran for office. And then they get all indignant because you point that shit out and you're all of a sudden the bad guy. And that's how they treat Chris. That's how they treated me for years. You're the bad guy because you come here and you point out the fallacies that are going on in the city. And well, you can't have that because it's the Golden Palace.
I don't even go to these meetings anymore. I sit here and I watch them on Zoom, or like I have them in my ear when I'm doing work. And then when I like listen for keywords like public comment, and then I just like raise my hand and I say my piece and do, go on with my life. And it's like, I just picture them sitting there in this room and there's like the voice from God and it's Chris Castleman speaking from the intercom. And they're just like pissed as hell because I'm saying all the truthful things that they need to hear and they can't stand it. Yeah.
I used to go to the Bandon City Council and they would have their public comment at the beginning of the meeting. And I would go in and I would sit through their intro and then they would go public comment first thing on the agenda. And I would get up and I would basically read the riot act, tell them what a bunch of dirtbags they are. And then I would leave. And they got pissed off at this. So now if you go to Bandon, the comment section is at the end of the meeting, and that's due to me. So I just want everyone to know. Yeah, but I get what you're saying, Chris, but that's exactly what happens. You get so tired of them not listening to you that you just go there to talk at them, and hopefully someone out there in the world that's getting this Zoom meeting might actually agree with you, and hopefully this message gets out, because I think most of society agrees with what we're doing. It's common sense. It's what the president is doing. It's common sense. And we've lost it in this country.
I mean, it crosses party lines. You know how many liberals supported my campaign for commissioner that would otherwise not have supported me? I put on a red hat and my email blows up. They're like, Chris, don't do that. I can't support you if you have a red hat on, but I really appreciate that you're tackling crime. It crosses party lines, and these schmucks that we have in elected positions in our county and our cities, they don't get that. It's crazy to me. It's crazy that they don't understand that everybody wants this issue solved. Everyone.
And it's the one issue that they look over their shoulder. What are you talking about? I don't understand. There's not a problem. It's your imagination. Let's go on a walk. We'll do a walk with the mayor. It's all okay.
Is there too much money? Is it too much of an industry, do you think? Is that part of why this thing is perpetuated and keeps on? Because I mean, there's everybody, half the people that seem to hold office have at some point or still have their tendrils in some type of organization or not-for-profit where they make a living out of it. It just seems like so many people, and there's so many of these little organizations, these do-gooder, bleeding heart, and I don't know, do these people actually believe they're doing good, or they just care about themselves? I can't read the minds of other people. I wish I could sometimes, but I'm just fascinated by the do-gooders. Do they really believe they're making the world a better place, or are they just in it for their own bottom line?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, and yes.
Yes, and yes. Lenny has a good comment. He says, who's in charge of that trash heap? The city, the county, or the school superintendent?
I'm going to point a finger at Drew Farmer, because Drew Farmer sat on the city council in Coos Bay for 8 years, and now he's at the county level. He's a county commissioner. And what has he done about this? He's been in a position to speak out about this. He claims, I grew up in this area and it's near and dear to my heart. Well, why did you let it go to waste? And what are you doing to solve it? He's a young guy. He's my age, and he seems really passionate and capable, and he's not doing anything about it. we can point to like the councils and stuff as a whole, but until you have a leader that steps up and leads them down the path of success to fix shit like this, we're not going to, 7 people on a council aren't going to just magically work together to solve something like this. They need a leader. And Drew Farmer painted himself as that leader. Well, what's he doing? We're waiting. And I'm sure he's not watching the show, but like to answer seriously, anybody who has that question, go ask Drew Farmer, put it in his face and say, what are you doing, buddy? You told everybody that you could fix this stuff and make our county a better place. What are you doing? He's the guy that people should be pushing. Him and Joe Benetti, the mayor of Coos Bay, Jessica Engelke is probably, gonna leave the area and move on and do something bigger at the state level. But Joe Benetti, I don't think he can change. He's been the same way for decades. So Drew Farmer, though, maybe with enough pressure, he'll crack and he'll finally go, well, shit, this is because he's a people pleaser. He like has to have people give him like, praise and praise. So all of a sudden, if he gets bombarded with people going like, man, you fucking suck, it might actually like hit him hard enough that he goes, oh man, I want more people to be my friend and like me, which is a really shitty reason to do this. But hey, I'll take the win if I can get it. It's
true. It's like, please love me, damn it. I need the education.
It's pathetic, but if it gives us a win, I'll take it.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Oregon Outlaw, and I think you know who this is. That camp has been there for over 10 years, and the authorities have known about it. When it was reported way back, the school built a fence to fix the problem of the bums watching the children. Oh, well, now the bums can see the children very clearly going up on that hill we were on.
Yeah, we could see the schoolyard pretty much the whole time we were on that hillside.
Wow.
Yeah. But Diver Dan used to talk about this back in the mid 2015, 2016. Diver Dan, he was always taking his daughter out walking in these areas, and he used to complain about this. He would go to the city and complain, and nothing was ever done. I mean, it was the same exact thing that was going on now, and I don't know. I guess we just haven't screamed loud enough. Doug Udell says, always wondered why they all steal garbage, then waste all that energy to haul it to their camps. Maybe because it looks more like the first home they grew up in, where their drugged up, drunken parents let them trash their own homes. I don't know.
So I gotta address this one because and you were there, so you saw those brand new Fred Meyer shopping carts. Fred Meyer switched their shopping carts about like a year ago to these bright red brand new plastic shopping carts, and there was at least 5 or 10 of them in the woods there. And so I have a police scanner that I listen to sometimes, and I'll hear like, oh, there's somebody just ran out of Fred Meyer with an entire shopping cart full, and they'll even give the price because they watch them on the cameras for a while, and they'll say like it's an $800 shopping cart full of Carhartt gear, and they're headed up. They just ran across 101 and now they're headed up Elrod. And I'll make it out there in time to watch them run into the woods with that shopping cart. And so like these aren't garbage bags full of things scattered in the woods. They're shopping carts full of stolen items, and that affects us more than we know, right? Like that's why our groceries that's why butter costs $7, It's like, and I find that stuff in the woods. I find brand new gear out there in the woods that they wore once and I don't know, defecated themselves in and then just left out there. It's crazy.
I think you have to sell like 10 Levi's to make up for one stolen Levi's because of the profit you lose. And so all of that price for all of that goes on to the next person who stands in line and actually pays for it. And at this point, I'm starting to think I'm a sucker for paying for anything. But then again, I don't have the
you don't possess the gene.
Yeah. I don't got the gene, man. I'm not smoking the cancer enough, I guess. I don't know.
You got to get your family members, those uncles or whatever you talked about. We get them on here. We want to talk
okay, so we were just talking about my uncle. Okay, my uncle, like I said, near 70. About I would say 15 years ago when I was visiting Texas, he was telling me how he had to go get arrested after we left, because, he was enjoying the visit. And I said, why do you got to go get arrested? He says, well, my hernia is flaring up again and I need to get an operation. And the only way he could afford to go to get an operation was to get arrested and go back to jail. And so when people go, well, let's throw him in jail. Well, sometimes they want to go to jail. It's 3 hots and a cot, man.
That's crazy. I have heard that. I mean, I've run into people who have said that like sometimes I just get arrested to go to jail. It's crazy. I don't know. I mean, and then you run into people who are like, I hate jail. It's horrible. It's damp and cold. The food sucks. The bed sucks. So people are strange.
People are strange. Oregon Outlaw says if you follow that main trail, it comes out at the end of California Street in Inglewood. Yeah, we kind of.
It goes to a lot of places. If you take Elrod, you hit the whole water reservoir system back in there, and you can make it all the way out to Empire, to Barview, to Libby, to North Bend. I mean, and there's camps all in there. Yep. I mean, we could go out once a week for the next year and film all these different camps, and you guys,
wow,
it would be a waste of time, because if nobody's going to do anything about it, it would be a waste of time.
So Liz, she was the one who was talking about her neighbors not being interested in helping out. She says, my neighbors I feel bad for them. They're the bleeding fucking heart, excuse my language. So yeah, she's saying the neighbors are the bleeding hearts. And so that's the sad thing, because then they kind of deserve what they get, but you get it too because you're in the neighborhood. That's sad.
Yeah.
Oregon Outlaw says there is also a trail at the end of Johnson that connects to it, and there was camps in there as well. Yeah, we knew that. Most people, let me see, John Smith says most people have been desensitized to it, or they don't want to be considered a hater. Yeah, you get called hater all the time there, Rob. I mean, Doug.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, dude, I hate criminals. I hate crime. I hate the bums. I hate the nonsense. I hate the people that allow it to happen. Absolutely. I have all kinds of hate. I hate people that would do harm to good people. Yeah, lots of hate.
Lots of hate. I'm in with you on that one. He charged $80 an hour to help the Devereaux. Yeah, remember that?
Farmer. Yeah,
yep, that was Farmer. John Smith says, I was so impressed with Chris's commentary at the Devereaux Center relocation Q&A at the Egyptian Theater that I cold approached him and talked with him for a half an hour. Thankfully, the center relocation to my neighborhood fell through. I don't know if you know, John.
Appreciate that. It's probably I remember there were a couple people who came up to me after that Egyptian Theater event, and I always tell people, like, you never know the impact you're going to have on somebody, because that was one of my first times like speaking out about this, and I was pretty nervous, and some people came up to me afterwards and were like, hey, that really resonated with me. And I had no idea, I thought I was crazy, right? Like, I thought I had all this like anger towards this shit, and no one really cared what I had to say. And when people came up to me and they were like, no, that like actually mattered to me, and I talked with some people, it's like, I think that night might have been one of those nights that like sent me down a different path. And it's like, people, you need to like, if you hear somebody saying something, like, go support them, like stand beside them, stand up, like inspire each other. Cause like, it's a thing, everybody has a role to play in this. And yeah, I appreciate you, John.
And not to blow my own horn, but, and I've seen you do this as well, Chris, at the meetings, is that there will be times that, and this happens at the Board of Commissioners meeting, they'll have something on the agenda. And maybe we really weren't paying attention to it, and they'll talk about it on the agenda, and they'll ask for comments, and nobody will get up. And finally, I'll have to get up because I know this conversation has to be had, and I'll get up. And usually I'm pretty good at nailing it right out of the field. And after I do that, 5-6 people will come up right afterwards who wouldn't have talked otherwise, except that I got up and said something. And then they felt good enough that they could get up and say something as well. And that's what we need more people doing.
You broke the seal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Broke the seal.
It's a thing.
Yeah. Brandy, and hi, Brandy. I'm glad you're watching us today. Says we can feel bad for them, street homeless, and still set boundaries and accept accountability. Caring without accountability is enabling.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Expect accountability.
Mhm.
Yeah. Expect accountability. I'm sorry. Let's see. John Smith says Chris is a kindred spirit. I voted for him for county commissioner with enthusiasm. Well, there you go.
You guys are making me blush. I'll drink to that. Thank you, John.
And Cheryl says, I appreciate all of you guys and lady. I think she says lady. I'm not sure what are you implying there, Cheryl?
She doesn't.
She's not assuming gender. She's not assuming gender.
That's right. She's not assuming gender, which is good because, at this point I could transition at any time. Just happens naturally. Spontaneous transition.
Can we see Rob in drag someday, please?
No, you can't.
So it was funny. We were talking one day about, remember Cameron Langley? You guys remember Cameron Langley?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So he was talking
something
about
Stringfield.
Yeah, Stringfield. Yeah. He used to tell us what a bunch of haters we were. And so one time we were up at one of the meetings and it was all these big logger guys. They were all hairy and big beards. And we were laughing. We should all put on dresses and go down to Cameron's house and say we've changed. Stand around with our hairy armpits.
That's awesome.
Do you remember that time they had it was an abortion rally, which is like a really weird thing to have, right? Like you can protest something, but to like have a rally for an abortion is pretty weird. And they put together this abortion rally down on the boardwalk. It was one of the last events he ever did in town. And I held a sign that said, because I thought it was like a your body, your choice, sort of thing. And so I held a sign that said, stop the mandates. And they like tried kicking me out of the protest because I'm like, look, we're on the same side. I want my body, my choice. Stop the vaccine mandates. Don't make me take that vaccine. And they were like, you're at the wrong protest. You don't get it. That's irrelevant. And then I go, well, what's that? And they're like, what? I'm like, that flag. And it's like the purple and pink transgendered flag. And I'm like, what the hell does that have anything to do with an abortion rally? And they're like, oh, okay, you got us. Well, anyways, afterwards, they go all around town, and I'm all for like freedom of speech and all that, right? But like they go all around town and they put up all these signs all around town on every telephone pole about, how everybody should be not only able to have an abortion, but they kind of like encouraged it, like yay for abortions. Right. And me and a friend, we go and we take all these signs down as they're putting them up. We were like one block behind them, taking every sign down, and we, I don't know how I knew where he lived, but we went to Cameron's. we go to Cameron's house and I knock on the door and he answers and I go, did you drop these in town? I think they're yours. And I hand him like 100 signs from all over town. And he just goes, what? And I go, I think they fell off the poles, man, and walked away.
Classic. Yes. Wow.
That was like the last thing he ever did in town. I think he was like, oh, I don't think they're going to allow this anymore. And it's like, no, we're not. You're crazy, man. Like, anyway, so sorry for that. I never did that.
Okay. And I knew Cameron going back to when he was pretty young. He was probably about 14, 15 at the time. He was still a dude at the time. And he worked at Outdoor Inn. I remember that. And so, it's weird how you see these people grow up and it's like, were you that dysfunctional, dude? I mean, seriously. And his dad was a junkie. He OD'd on heroin. And, I often wonder maybe if that didn't happen, he wouldn't have wanted to cut off his penis. I seriously think his mom, Misty Marks, she named herself Marks after Karl Marx. I think she was a man hater. And I think this is the problem with a lot of the transition going on is that we have a lot of women out there who are men haters. They hate men because they had a bad experience with their ex and now they got a male child with them and they take out all of that hatred on their ex, on their young child, and they want to change them to not remind them of their spouse. And so what the best way to change someone who reminds you of your spouse, turn them into the opposite sex, right? And I that's just, I don't know. That's just a theory because I've seen it on the
Yep.
TikTok videos where you got these
Yep.
moms who are encouraging these little boys to be girls.
Emasculating their little boys and trying to turn them. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
And
Yeah,
I think that happens quite a bit. And it's and even Elon Musk and his wife, they fell for it too. They have a child who
Yep.
is in his early 20s and says, Dad, I'm a trans. Elon actually goes with it. He says, I bought into it, and then I realized I'm being sold a bunch of bullshit here. But
Yep.
it was too late. They had already transitioned their son. Wow, that would be really screwed up, man. What a screwed up life. You're one of the richest people in the world, and yet you've got your most private possession removed. I don't know, man. And John Smith says, Rob, you are on the spot, Rob. These little commies grew up without a strong male role model. And that's why I also think Trump won this time around, because during the 4 years that he was president, 8 years ago, all the kids who were in high school from 14 to 18 who couldn't vote at that time grew up with him as president. And because they had a strong male role model in the White House, I think that's why you're seeing a little bit of a different change in the attitude of the young people when they came out and supported President Trump.
Huh.
I think that was part of it. I think they're missing that strong male role model at home. And I think some of them actually have male figures at home. They're just pussies. They're the cucks that we're talking about.
What about JD Vance though, man? Like, talk about strong role model and potential future president or vice president JD Vance.
You're just jealous of his beard, right?
Does he have a beard? He's got a little beard. He was a Marine though.
There's nothing like Chris's. Chris has the beard. This is the I have given up on life beard. You just don't even give a shit anymore. That's how you get this. It's nothing about being a man. Yeah.
I think I see your meal from Wednesdays about 3 inches down.
Oh, is that bacon?
Right?
Is that bacon?
Do I have mashed potatoes in my beard again?
Yes. So Brandy, I've got to meet this young lady because she seems really intelligent and really together. I know you've had her on several podcasts. I've never actually met Brandy, but she has a good comment here. It says, no one is being honest about how many trans children are autistic or SA victims. The numbers are high. Europe is dismantling the always affirm model. And that's the problem we're having here, the always affirm model, where automatically, if some professional somewhere says, oh, your boy thinks he's a girl at 3, they're affirming that diagnosis right away and going with it, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, the sexual assault victim thing, that's real. Those numbers are quantifiable.
Yep.
Well, imagine if for schizophrenics, imagine if we were forced to tell them that there are other people in the room with us, that their friends are real. That's what we're doing with these trans people. Like, there aren't 2 other people on the show with us? There aren't? Because
I see 5.
Yeah, Chris, you're on the screen by yourself. We're not even here.
This is crazy.
This is crazy, man. Drink a little bit more. It will get better. Oh, and John Smith says, Chris isn't jealous of any other beard. Of course not. Why would he be?
This was not planned. And now I can't take it off because if I shave this, you guys wouldn't know who the fuck I was. You guys wouldn't know who I am.
Oh, I am stone cold sober. I've been drinking water this evening, and you guys are getting more entertaining as the night's going on. I just want to state that this is.
There must be some of that Chinese water with a little bit of fentanyl in it.
Yeah, smoke a little cancer.
Smoke a little cancer. It'll all be okay. So Elon Musk changing the whole subject in a new direction. I love this. And the reason I showed this is we recently had a business owner here who was spotted giving the salute, the Hitler salute. And boy, it brought all hell down on the port and on North Bend, and all kinds of policies were changed, and it was crazy. And it was ridiculous because I don't know why everyone is throwing such a fit because some guy threw a Hitler salute. And here we have Elon Musk, who, like I said, goes out on stage. And this is just a natural, when you're out there, talking to people, you're on stage, you'll make that gesture. And that's all he did was make a gesture. It wasn't a Hitler salute. And of course, all the liberals went nuts on his ass.
Well, I had posted a picture of every Democrat. Okay, yeah, stuff like that. Exactly. Like everybody does that position at one point or another. And like, hey, let's say, elected official, or I guess not elected official, but he's still somewhat of an official. People in power. They maybe you shouldn't be doing that. But like Joe Average doing it, Joe Business Guy doing it. Who cares? People give you the finger. People flip you off. People write expletives in the back of their vehicles. Like, who cares? What about freedom of speech, man? Like,
right.
I'm not saying it's a good thing, but like, where does the line get delineated? Where does that happen? I don't know. There's so much hate going on in the world that, but some of it's acceptable depending on what party you align with, and some of it's not. I don't get it.
It reminded me of this episode of Seinfeld.
Oh my gosh.
That's how bad it's gotten out there. It's a Seinfeld episode. It's something about nothing.
That's Tim Conway.
No, that wasn't Tim Conway. That was
that's not.
No, I forget the actor's name. He's
Are you
he's
sure?
a character actor. No, that's not Tim Conway though.
Okay.
That was on Seinfeld. That was Elaine's boss when they were going.
Okay.
They were purchasing a water company, Moland. And he was all talking about how we got to go into Moland. We can't let Moland get by. Chris, you're going to catch all kinds of shit tomorrow.
Yep.
Good fun.
I can see the headlines now.
Good
The racism thing, though. The racism thing is crazy because I spoke about this in North Bend, and they're sitting there, virtue signaling that they need to get rid of racists in our community and this and that. And yeah, they went after some guy who, and let's just say maybe he is a white supremacist. Is that, it's not something I agree with in any fashion, but doesn't he have the right to have those beliefs? And where does the government have the authority to tell him that he can't believe that? And that's the true root of the issue. And they've decided that they're going to take action against this guy and try and remove contracts that he had and not do business with him anymore and all those things. So they're no longer contracting with businesses based on merit. They're deciding to contract with businesses based on other things like race or their belief system and things like that. And that's not a society we should live in. So I've spoken about that at these city council meetings, and they don't care. They haven't listened. And, the counselors will call me afterwards and argue with me and say that it's not quite what you're thinking. And it's like, no, it's exactly like it's spelled out. Like they have a thing on their website for this grant, and it says, what's the preference will be given to minority owned businesses. And it's like,
I saw that. Is that not racism? I'm sorry. How does that work? How do you differentiate what a minority is? How do you?
So that was the first step. I asked them. I sent an email to the city administrator, and I say, first off, just please define where's your definition of minority. List them. They wouldn't. They wouldn't respond.
They wouldn't give us anything.
They wouldn't because they knew that the moment they do that, and that list does not include white males.
In fact, Mill Iron. This was my favorite. Mill Iron even explained that words have definitions, but those definitions change on who uses them. So if the government uses them, they can change the definition.
I went in there and I read the definition from the Webster Dictionary and the Cambridge Dictionary on discrimination. And it means when you're giving preferential treatment to one group over another, that's discrimination. And it's very easy to understand. And they rebutted. They actually put an entire press release out on this subject. They rebutted that that's not, just because it's in the dictionary does not mean that that's the legal definition of discrimination. And it's crazy. You guys no one cares about this. This is why we need new leaders, because we shouldn't have to fight these stupid little battles and read the definition of words like discrimination to our elected leaders. That's how far down this rabbit hole we've gone, and we need to really think about.
But it's not a little battle, because if they can do this with urban renewal money, which is one thing, this is a grant. Well, what stops them from being able to do that with policies? Let's say with health,
Yep.
with Medicaid and Medicare. What stops them from saying, "I'm sorry, well, we have to give preferential treatment to minorities, so you can lay there and bleed until we get through with these other people of color." And so this, if they can do it with one thing, it can translate into every other policy. So yeah, it's a little thing here, and sure, probably more than likely it won't even matter because most people here are white, and the white person's probably going to get the grant if anyone takes the grant. But the thing is that how big are we going to allow it to get? That's the scary part.
It's getting pretty big. No, I mean, what I mean, it's annoying, these little battles. I mean, it's hard to keep losing them because we're not winning them. We're going in there and complaining and petitioning and doing all this stuff, having shows about it, and we're not winning these little battles. So we need to win the big battle, which is the election. And that's kind of what I keep getting at. But I hate saying it because it's like, I hated that, 5 years ago when people would tell me, well, you need to run for school board and you need to vote. And it's like, but it is the truth. And
here's the frustrating part, though. We have one of our people in there. We have Matthew Hamilton in there, who's a Republican. He barely held up his hand when you asked who the Republican was, and he barely held up his hand. I don't know. I'm not very happy with being in the Republican Party, but I sure as hell would have held up my hand. And when when this council was talking about that policy, he should have stood up and said something about it and said, I'm not going to support this as a councilman. I refuse to have anything to do with this. And he should have made a much bigger statement about it. And he should have made a much bigger statement about that DEI affidavit that businesses now have to sign. And, I was thinking about that urban renewal thing. If they're going to do that urban renewal thing where they're going to tear down the old annex for the county, they're going to have to hire unions and stuff. And I'm just wondering, are they going to have to make these companies, these construction companies, sign that DEI affidavit swearing that they're going to uphold all the discrimination laws that they have to uphold anyway?
Yep, that passed. They're going to do that.
Wow.
That is freaking nuts.
Well, and the crazy thing is it wasn't even something that the city council passed. What happened is the city administrator took the initiative to just do this on his own. He sent out a letter to all the contractors with the city of North Bend on his own without asking permission. And it required them to fill out this form, make a DEI pledge that they were not going to discriminate and blah, blah, blah. And then they had to get it notarized. They had to get this thing notarized and send it back to the city or else. And that's when it blew up because people were like, what do we have to do? And that's when it went to the city council and they did all these work sessions to whittle it down to just a pledge that doesn't require a notary. And they changed some wording and then eventually just realized they went, wait a minute. So if we don't even vote on this at all, can David Milliron just keep doing this? Can the process just exist because it already happened? And they were like, yeah, it can. So they didn't even take any action on it. They just allowed the city administrator to just keep doing what he's doing. He's not even an elected official.
Do whatever you want. A guy who's not even elected. Oh, you go ahead and make policy. It's okay.
And then, like you said, you have Matthew Hamilton, who's supposed to be a Republican, sitting up there on the city council, and he sat on his fucking hands and he didn't do anything because he's a goddamn cuck in office, just sitting there. He's an empty seat, not doing what he needs to do. And at that meeting, I read the Republican Party platform out loud, and that's why I said, are there any Republicans here who agree with this platform? Are there any Republicans here? And he kind of like halfway put his hand up. And, I used to consider that guy a friend, and it's sad that it's hard to watch him up there not stand up for our community. It really is.
And this goes with what's happening in Bandon with the excise tax that they passed back in June. I've got two friends of mine, David Geisel and Stan Avery, on the board, and neither one of them bothered to let me know they're going to be voting on a tax. And then 5 months later, when I find out about it, and how do I find out? Well, they have to go to the county to have the county collect the tax. And somehow I'm the bad guy because I'm calling them out for being Republicans who voted for a tax increase, man. Can you believe that, Rob? Doug?
Wow. Wow.
And
I don't know. Can this place ever change? Can it ever change? You know, that's what I keep saying. I don't know. We just,
I think it can. But we gotta work a little harder. You know, we're expecting these elected officials to turn up the heat and work harder, and I think we need to match that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And there are people who are stepping up. Like, I just spoke with someone tonight who's like, I think I'm gonna run for school board. You know, and that's one win. You know, and we're gonna help her get elected, and that's cool because she's like a hardcore conservative. And she knows the right stuff. She's got common sense up there. And you know, there's a guy. We went to that shoot in Bandon. We did like a nighttime SWAT style, like tactical shooting at nighttime. And there was a guy there who had just spoken at the Bandon city council meeting or school board meeting about some of the DEI policies and stuff like that. And he's like, I'm running for school board. I'm doing it. I'm just gonna go all in and do it. And it's like, I think it's taken a lot longer than like you and I and Doug Washington here want it to take, but it is starting to move. It really is. And I hate it. I'm so impatient. So I want this to change like yesterday, but that's just not how the world works. So I think we need to just try a little harder and a little longer. And I think we can do it. There's my like inspirational message for everybody.
It was inspirational, but let's get back to this David Milliron because I have a huge problem with him. He went to the county commissioners meeting to get an approval for a project that's going to cost the county $65,000 more a year for the next 30 years. And this is a project the city of North Bend is doing. And the commissioners, because they're broke, they told him no. Well, he only has to get, because there's 10 districts in this urban renewal area, he has to get 70% of the districts. Well, the county only counts for 10%. So he's going around to the school board. He's going to be there in February. He was just there at a work session this past week on Tuesday to convince them to vote for the urban renewal project that the county commissioners just turned down. And if the school board on North Bend, if they pass that urban renewal plan, that resolution they have, the county's going to have to pay that $65,000 that they said no to for 30 years, another 65 grand. And so we got people elected to that school board. And I think we have enough people to say no. Carol Yardley has already said she's saying no. Two others of the school board they're going to say no, more than likely. And so we probably have the votes to stop that. But I'm going to be putting out a press release, letting everyone know who they need to contact, who they need to call. But this is a guy who's already been told no on a project that's going to cost the county $65,000. He's going behind their back to the school board to get the school board's approval. What do you think of that?
That guy sucks, and he's not an elected official. It's crazy. But I just remembered, it's jumped into my head. Doug Washington. I was talking with one of the school board members from Marshfield, from Coos Bay School District, and there was a teacher arrested back in the spring for a sex offense, and then they dropped, or they never filed charges. Maybe they needed to do more investigation. Well, they rearrested him over Christmas. I think his name is Jeremy Berger or something like that. Yep. He was a teacher at Marshfield. Well, they told me he was the president of the union, the teachers union. Like, I didn't know that. I assumed it was like some art teacher, some weirdo that no one associates with. And here he is in a position of high influence in this area, the teachers union president. And it's like, and then you've got that guy, the sex offender that's teaching at SWAC. Remember that? Oh, that. Yeah, no, I'm not done with that one yet. Like, he actually served time. He served time for diddling his students. And now he's part of the GED program here. I've had people reach out to me that I have to get back to them. And I said, after the holidays are over, but they want to tell me their firsthand accounts of stuff. Like, why are these people? Why do we do that? We're big on sex offenders. We were talking earlier, we're going full circle. It's like we encourage it here, man. It's like we reward it.
No, I think we need to go after this guy on and when I say go after him, I mean legally try to get him fired
Yeah.
From I'm working with kids. This just blows my mind. And what kills me is all the people who are defending this guy. Oh no, he's a nice guy. He's a nice pedophile.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. Hitler was a nice guy to some people. Stalin was a nice guy to some people. Heck, Jeffrey Dahmer would wine you and dine you. Everybody can be a nice guy, no matter how evil they are.
Everyone, like this guy here.
It rubs the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the hose again.
He lowers a basket every day with food and snacks and stuff for her. He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy. I don't know what the problem with these people are. Yeah, rub the lotion on your body, or you will get the hose again. Yeah, it's the lovely stuff we got dealing with.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but I appreciate. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we got to work together to find more stuff on that guy. I've done some public records requests, and it's just disgusting the more and more I find out about it. And he had way more victims than the two that were in the trial that he was convicted in. I threw a thing on the screen there. I mean, just like all the details that you find out as you read through all this paperwork, like hundreds of pages of stuff. Like, you've got Brandy's comment covering it. But like he ended up, he would turn the one victim alleged that he would turn off the lights during school. Like, he was a theater teacher, so he would turn off the lights and play hide and go seek with the kids, and that's when he would sexually assault her. And like, I mean, that's just insane. And if you read some of the stuff at the bottom, I mean, like, could you ever imagine like sending your kid to school and your daughter is in the theater class, in like third period, and her teacher is like taking her into the corner, and he's getting down on his knees and he's putting his face right in your daughter's crotch and performing.
This goes back to
her. I mean, that is absolutely mind blowing.
Why hasn't the parent tracked him down? He's easy to find. When this is all happening, like, I get it. When I put myself in these mental scenarios sometimes, especially if a couple kids. Okay, something bad happens. I can't do something where I'm going to go to jail for the rest of my life so that I'm no longer there to protect them. But at the same time, I have to put an end to that threat. I can't have my child for the rest of her life worried about that guy out there. I have to do whatever I have to do so she doesn't have to worry anymore. Why aren't guys doing that? Like, that great piece of footage where the little martial arts instructor guy was banging one of his male students, and the dad is at the marshal service, has the guy, they're escorting him through the airport, and the dad's on the payphone, and then just spins around and takes his old 38 and just blows his brains out.
Right.
Drops to his knees, puts his hands up, and that was it. And the guy didn't get anywhere near what he would get nowadays. I'm not saying going do that. I'm not advocating for murder, but I'm advocating for some type of reciprocity and to make sure that somehow you can be ensured that your children are safe. I don't. Why is that not happening? Why isn't this stuff happening? I don't get it.
This is why I tell people and to be on a jury, because at some point you may get on a jury where you've got a guy who's protected his family and is being railroaded by a DA who knows it's an easy charge to pick up, knows it's an easy win, and is going to use it as a score on his scorecard. And that's why I tell people, get on these juries. I mean, I've helped people out on a jury. I mean, there was a guy who they way overcharged, and I was able to talk of the 4 charges. I was able to get 2 of the charges dropped with the other jurors, and we convicted him on the 2 lesser charges. So people need to get on the jury. That's another way to make sure this doesn't happen. Liz says, that was me, Doug Washington. I reached out to you and Chris. I love to talk to you both, but I was personally sexually harassed at that college. I am so sorry, Liz.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
And I will get back to you. Thank you for reestablishing contact here. Like I say, I had the holidays and then just been super busy, and probably busy for the next couple of weeks. And then I really do want to put some time into this. That is just atrocious that we have this in this neighborhood, in this community, that we allow it. And again, we encourage it. And this just goes part and parcel to everything else we're talking about. Like, I don't understand the enabling that we have here. I don't get it.
Well, and they claimed that he's not. So that was back in 2007 that he was accused and convicted of this stuff back in Eugene. And they claimed that he's not around kids any. Like, he moved here and then he joined the position. He took the position at the community college, and they claim that he's not with kids, he's not with minors, he's not working with them, and that is false. I've had at least 10 people reach out to me expressing that he absolutely worked directly with them or with their daughter or something, in the 9th and 10th grade years, and the school's lying, and they're allowing him to have interaction with his like number one like target audience, what you call it, his prey. He's a predator, so they're allowing him to interact with his prey, and he's part of this program that's like essentially if 9th and 10th graders at Marshfield or North Bend are performing poorly in school, they have the option to go and get like tutoring at the college. It's called the Trio Upward Bound program, and that's what he's in charge of. Like it's insane. I can't even talk about it without getting like my blood boiling. It's
right.
really
I'm angry just hearing it. I'm angry just hearing it. They've got this pedo on staff. They've got a bum camp on their property that they're aware of. Like what is SWAC? Is just who funds SWAC? Is SWAC privately owned or publicly owned?
It's a taxing district. It's a taxing district. They're elected.
There are 4 seats up for election this May. Filing starts in February. There's only 7 total seats on the board. So if we get 4 people in there who are pissed off enough about this to do something, we could actually do something about it by winning an election in May. So
4 of you.
It's not easy, but we could do that. I'm seriously consider running for one of those positions. So
and we need someone to run. This is a county-wide district, so anyone in the county can run for SWAC, and I would recommend that you do it because these are our young people. I know they're college kids, but even at 18, they're not mature. It takes a while, and it's, you guys know, it takes a while. It takes, especially men, up till they're about their mid-20s before they finally get most of their shit together. But these are kids, even at 18, 19, 20 years old. And we have a responsibility to these kids. And we have a responsibility and especially as a taxpayer. I don't want to pay for this shit. I don't want to pay for someone. I don't want to pay for
his salary.
Yeah, pay a pedophile salary, and then on top of it, give them more goodies. Oh, here's some goodies too on top of the salary. It's like we're almost rewarding this guy.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is absolutely a reward system. Like a convicted pedophile, a convicted child predator who ended up marrying one of his victims. So that one, they kind of, he married her, so it's not that bad.
Right.
But all the other ones that go with it as well, like just a creeper. I mean, you look at the pictures of this guy. He looks like your typical Bernie Sanders voting creeper.
Yeah, I know. Especially the pictures of him doing Shakespeare in the park, because that's what you want in the park. You're a Shakespeare pedophile.
Yeah.
What light breaks through yonder window? A 13-year-old girl for me to molest. Yes.
Nicely done, sir. Nicely done.
Oh shit.
I threw his picture up on there for you.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me see if I can get that.
It's not the greatest shot, but it's a picture of him being convicted. So I like this one,
Oh, yeah.
Fucker.
Yeah. I guarantee you he wears Birkenstock and he smells like patchouli. And he's taken gender studies.
He looks like a Pez dispenser.
He kind of does look like a Pez dispenser.
You guys want to tilt his head back and see that cube of sugar pop out of his neck.
So I wonder which jail or because he went to prison. I wonder how well he was treated by the other prisoners.
Oh, he got extra ramen and chocolate bars every day for making himself available.
Yep, I'm willing to bet. It's funny, yeah. It's
At sentencing, his lawyer, they wrote up this pre-sentencing report where they kind of, try and paint him as this like wonderful human being. And they wrote in this pre-sentencing report that he shouldn't have any more jail time, no prison time, because he already got beat up in the county jail. And I'm like, yes.
Not enough. Yeah. And folks, you watching right now, this is a guy teaching. He's involved in higher education. He's Southwestern Oregon Community College, SWAC, right here. Place that you might send your kids to, your children to. I've had a few people also comment too that they were thinking of sending their kids there, but have since changed their mind. Good on them. Good on them for not, because this predator is on staff. The powers that be are aware of him. They're aware of his past. They chose to hire him regardless, and they choose to keep him on despite his past of molesting children.
And he got out of prison in 2009 and was supposed to be on probation for 5 years. And part of the terms of that probation was that he was not to be around anyone under the age of 18. And I haven't gotten the like actual evidence, like his hire date and all that, but I'm almost positive that he was hired within the window of that probation, like hired at SWAC, teaching at SWAC within that window of still being on probation. So I have a lot of questions about that. Did he lie on his application? Did they not know? That was, it was a while back, but somebody's got to be held accountable for this. Somebody.
Even at work, we had a rule. You fuck them, you're fired. Meaning you don't fool around with, you don't sexually harass people you're at work with. You're not dating. No fraternizing with the employees, especially those of us who are in management. We had a rule: you fuck them, you're fired. And if you want to go out with one of your salespeople, that's fine, but you just don't have a job. One of you is going to have to quit. And then you got this guy here who's marrying one of the people he molested. Boy, talk about covering your ass.
Yeah, creepy. And apparently his wife works at SWAC as well.
Nice. Well, the couple that works together, I don't know. I don't want to say it. I'll get sued.
It does kind of seem that way though. Like it's like, I have been told that people, I spoke with she's probably in her mid to late 20s at this point, but she was tutored by him in the 9th and 10th grade. And she said that his wife was the liaison for this program. So she had an office at Marshfield High School.
Oh, wow.
And so the students who would perform poorly, you had to get like a C or lower in a class. You would then go meet with his wife. Again, this is alleged. I wasn't there. They would have to go meet with her, and then would be sent over to the college to get tutoring on campus from this person, from the this professor that was convicted of some sex offenses back in 2007.
I'm glad he's not molesting the straight A students. That makes me feel better. It's just the C and below, right? That's all we're allowing him to molest, I guess.
It's crazy. And then like you look them up on Facebook. I threw that image up there. Like this is, believe women. This was during the Me Too movement. So this is his wife, wanting people to believe women. Yeah. Because I'm sure you believed the victims of his sexual assault back in 2007. I'm sure you believed it.
Oh, that is so screwed up.
So screwed up.
So screwed up, isn't it? But that's the mindset of, and I hate to keep pointing left and right, because there's a lot on the right that is messed up nowadays too. Like I don't know, this Yankee conservatism here. It's not real conservatism and weird stuff, but there does seem to be a predisposition or a propensity, whatever the word you want to use, for the left to be more deviant like that. Everybody has their deviance. Everybody, whatever. People are people. Everybody has drives and desires and stuff. But there's just something about the far left that can't not touch kids. Look at that. I mean, he looks the type, in my opinion.
Totally looks like a pedo. I mean, this is wow.
Oh,
and this guy's walking around at the college being allowed to be exposed to children. Oh, wow. This is sick, man.
This pisses me off. It really does. Like, I don't even know how I can be calm. I've talked about this guy on other shows, and it's like, it's so, oh my gosh, it makes me so angry. This man, look at that face. That face was in the crotch of a high school student that he was supposed to be teaching. That is so absolutely insane. And our community college has given this person the same position of authority over young people to do it again. It's not something you're cured of. This guy
No.
has no place in that position. None. He does not belong in the educational system any longer. He can go be a carpenter and
Right.
work like a normal person and not be a professor. He can
Not to be around kids. With the
pick some
fact that
other
he's got a
industry.
job around kids, just that fact. Why do you need to have a job around kids? Why did he pick this career? Why did he go this avenue? And we all know
Yep.
why. We
Yeah,
totally know
absolutely.
why.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes the obvious answer is the right answer.
Is the right answer. I knowing what I know about this guy, I would have a hard time being a father on a campus, dropping my daughter off, and then walking past this guy. I would have a hard time to keep my mouth shut, much less my hands to myself.
I couldn't. I mean, if by some weird happenstance my child was there and would have some type of proximity to him, you can damn bet Skippy I'll be having a chat with him. I had to have a chat with a teacher here about a year and a half ago. Nothing along these levels at all. But it was some inappropriate stuff. It was not sexual in nature, but it was not right. It was not good. So I had an audience with him, and we were cordial. We were nice, but I didn't really ask him as much as I said, I trust we'll never have to have this conversation again. Yeah. And he understood. He little milk toast, Bernie Sanders loving type guy, and he understood. And that's what men have to do. And again, we go back to the whole cuck thing, where guys just don't get involved. It's okay to be a guy. It's okay to be aggressive. It's okay to have some toxic masculinity. That's what makes the world go round. And why aren't people talking to this guy? Why aren't parents going, hey, if you ever touch my kid, we'll talk about that later. That's all you got to say. That's all you have to say. You'll plant that seed in his head. He'll know. Look at him. What is he, $1.20? $1.20. He smells like cheap cologne and patchouli.
Cheap cologne and patchouli.
I can't look at it anymore. It's
you're
right though. Like that's if I saw this guy in the community, if I ran into him, it's and you Rob, you wrote this whole report on this guy years ago who owns a gym in Coos Bay. Henry Delaney, he owns Northwest Fitness, and you looked him up and found out that he's a sex offender. He raped some girl. He had other sex offenses as well. I think he had a juvenile record, but he rapes this girl, I believe, in Washington State.
And he was a licensed teacher, by the way.
Yep.
Oh, really?
He rapes this girl, and you put it out there online, and I read it, and it just so happened that like the next day, I'm shopping in the Restore, this hardware store in Coos Bay, and he walks in, and it's fresh in my mind because I had just read it, and I recognized him. And I go, hey man, are you Henry Delaney? And he's kind of like excited that someone recognized. He goes, yeah. How do you know me? I go, the rapist, right? And he goes absolutely apeshit in this store, and he's chasing me. And I'm not really big guy, and he's like a fucking bodybuilder.
He's a big guy.
He's chasing me around the store, and I'm just calling him a rapist. And eventually, the store owner like kicks him out, made him leave because he was going to kill me, and it's crazy. So I just told him, you're not welcome around here. Oh, you can't tell me that. No, you're just not. Like, because you're a fucking rapist and you're not allowed to just walk around and act like you're a normal person, like one of us, because you're not. And it turns out that he got urban renewal money. He got money to improve the facade of his building from our tax dollars. Joe Benetti, the mayor of Coos Bay, some other city councilors. Drew Farmer was a city councilor at the time and voted for this. To give a sex offender public funds to improve the facade of his building. And it was at the time when he had the women's gymnastics team.
It was girls, the high school gymnastics team. And some of these girls looked pretty damn young. And at one of the pictures that I put up there was him holding a young girl by the crotch in some gymnastic pose. And he's standing there smiling, holding this girl surrounded by a whole bunch of other little girls. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Nobody sees this and has a problem with this shit?
Wow.
And they finally stopped him from being able to coach the girls' gymnastics at Marshfield. It actually took him up to that point to actually stop that from happening. So he lost he had to leave basically his business behind. Because that took a crap, and it's still there, but it's not in the getting the business that it used to. Be quite honest with you, I'm hoping Planet Fitness will put them completely out of business, because I don't think that pedophiles like that should be in business. And I'll tell you what, I had 2 other women contact me on top of the original woman that he was charged raping with, a former girlfriend of his who was terrified of him, and another woman that she accuses him of raping her. So I called the sheriff, and I was in contact with Craig Zani the whole time, and I let him know that I think we got a serial rapist here. You need to keep an eye on this guy. And it was
Get them more money. Get them more money. Get them some grants. Get them some urban renewal money. Do you remember there was a coffee shop in North Bend by Les Schwab? It was called Black Dog or something like that.
Yeah.
And that hit social media hard and fast. Apparently, like one of the owner guys or whatever he was a Chimo as well. And again, I don't know the full details, but I remember people were saying, hey, you need to get on this and talk about it. But I didn't know enough about it. And every other local page was hitting it hard and heavy, and this guy wasn't supposed to be around kids, and they were having kids events and stuff like that, and it built up such a tempo so fast, and within a couple months that place had folded and they went their little scurrying way. And I remember that from the periphery. Like, again, I wasn't involved with that at all. I never got the full story, but all I knew was that one of the owners was doing things to kids he ought not to have been doing, served some time for it, what have you. But the public outcry was enough. And just every now and then you hit that right chord, and it resonates, and it worked, and it drove them to shut their doors and get the hell out of Dodge. And that's the only time I've ever heard of something like that. It's the only time I've heard of a Chimo or any kind of sex offender in this area not being rewarded in one fashion or another, and actually having to pay some type of penalty.
That guy sucked. So Top Dog, I think, was the name of the coffee shop, and I had a friend who was the last employee that worked there. And I went there for coffee one day to visit her, and the guy, I didn't know anything about the shop or the guy, and the guy there just gave me the creeps, like really gave me the creeps. And I started asking, like, well, what's your boss like? Like, what, the owner of the store? Oh, he turns out he's like 58 years old, and he divorced his wife, and he married now one of the employees that used to work there, who's like 23. And she's like some obese goth chick. It's very strange, very weird dude. And he's they ended up not paying this friend of mine, because he claimed he didn't own the business. It was his ex-wife who actually owned the business, and she was refusing to pay him, so he refused to pay this person who ended up without a last paycheck. And so I go to his house, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna need that paycheck now. It's like, I'll take 150, like, and he calls the cops on me because I'm harassing him. It's like, oh my gosh, these people.
What is with bad guys calling the police here? Sorry, go ahead. We need to talk about that.
No, that's it. And the cops showed up to that one, right? Oh, don't worry about the shopping carts in the grocery store. Don't worry about fires in the woods that the bums set. Like, don't worry about that shit. But yeah, go hassle that guy who's just trying to get his friend their last paycheck. I mean, fuck.
Shitbags here call the police. Whether they're just a shitbag bum on the street smoking fenny and committing crimes, if you talk to them too loudly and they take exception to it, they'll call the police on their Obama phone. Guys like that, guys in the wrong, they'll call the police. Every shitbag here calls the police. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I don't understand it.
Boy,
your mail thief's called the police on you.
Your
right?
mail, call the police on you.
Yep. Prime example.
We got stories like that, but we'll tell you later. That's pretty sad. That's pretty sad that happens. They call the police. It's just wow. Boy, I was just going to talk about something that reminded me of a very similar situation. The criminals themselves are the ones who are treated like they're the victims, and of course the victims are treated like the criminals once again. I don't know, gentlemen. I don't know. I don't know. There's really no easy answer to any of this, and yet there kind of is. It's we pointed out several. Part of the problem are the bleeding hearts, or the enablers, and they're never going to change. I don't think that's until we get the mindset of the other people to change. You're going to be stuck with this crowd. That's all I have figured.
And
What's
don't be a
that,
cuck.
That
Don't be a
saying, I've
cuck.
seen like a meme, and it's like good times create weak men create bad times create strong men create good times create weak men, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. It's how do we get out of that, you know?
Yeah.
But I think we're in the bad time, and it's going to create some strong men. So that gives me some hope for this cycle. But geez, man, this sucks.
Rob, Doug, I'm sorry. I don't know who this Rob guy is. Doug, you posted something about the Coos County Sheriff. They're going after all of us who don't wear seatbelts because we're the real criminal out there. And the reason they're doing this is they get a grant, you know.
That's exactly it. And it pays for the overtime and stuff like that. And it's not just the SO. So it's gonna be the SO, it's gonna be Coos Bay PD, it's gonna be North Bend PD. It's pretty much gonna be a statewide thing. And I'm very law and order. I don't know, if you don't want to wear a seatbelt, don't wear a freaking seatbelt. Like I don't get that one. Speeding through residential areas, that's one you should pull people over, have a chat with them if they do it again.
I agree.
You see, and I'm even okay with some seatbelt blitzes on occasion, but not to punish, not to fiscally punish people, but just like hey, you should wear your seatbelt. Here's a little sticker for your kids. But not when we live in a festering shithole like we do right now. How dare you? How dare you get up in the morning and take that vehicle and go around with the intent of getting as many people without seatbelts as you can? How many felonies did you pass? How many pieces of shit criminals? How many sex offenders did you drive by? How many mail thieves did you do nothing to on the way to hand out a ticket for somebody with no seatbelt? How dare you? How freaking dare you? And that's my point of demarcation. That's where I have the issue. I'm very law and order. We don't have law here. We don't have order here. We don't have a proper judiciary. We don't have justice here. But yet somehow we can go after people for no seatbelts. Well, you know, Rob, it saves a lot of lives. Don't give a shit. Don't give a shit. People want to wear them. They want to put themselves at risk. Grown ass adults do what they want. I have such a hard time with it. I like wearing my seatbelt. Seatbelts have done very, very well for me and very well for people that I know. And I think we've all seen the repercussions sometimes of not wearing seatbelts. But at the end of the day, if I don't want to, you know, these new vehicles we have, holy shit. If you so much as look at it without putting your seatbelt on, it'll scream at you forever. And you start cutting wires and shit, everything else shuts down on you. Yeah, well, long story there. It was a short story. I cut some wires on the seatbelt, like just stop buzzing. Here, you're good now. No, it makes everything else go off, and then it starts flashing your dash like, oh, you have a problem with your seatbelt. No, I just don't want you buzzing. So we go and get these. Just little extra plug-ins.
You little cheater.
keeps them from going off. Because if I don't want to wear my seatbelt, if I'm driving through the woods, if I'm chasing a shit bag like I was the other night, I don't need the bing, bing, bing constant reminder. The nanny state vehicles. Holy crap! This vehicle comes with a deal that if you don't put your seatbelt on, it won't let you drive. You have to go in the programming and turn that off.
Whoa! No way!
I just punch its face in when I first saw that. I would not have bought this vehicle if that couldn't have been disabled. Just 1,001 stupid nanny things they put in these vehicles now, and it's the same thing as stopping a guy for no seatbelt. Who cares? Who cares? Oh, you're not wearing a seatbelt. Look what I did today. I wrote tickets for no seatbelts. Yeah. Oh, that guy. Yeah, he's just selling Fenny to the kids on the corner while living at the bump camp that Chris and Rob found. Why?
Yeah. What was the guy? Was he selling fentanyl? Was he wearing a seatbelt at the time? Because then,
right. Oh my gosh! Let's go buy a bunch of seatbelts without proper buckles for them to go into, and we'll staple them to the homeless, and they'll finally get arrested.
They'll finally get the justice we need. What cracks me up is they tell grown-ups like me that I have to wear a seatbelt. Yet every morning during the school year, I would put my kid on a bus with 30 other kids. Not a single one of them wearing a seatbelt. Not a one of them. And my favorite is my wife, you know, she loves her motorcycles, and she used to ride the motorcycle with my kid, you know, in front of her on the lap, on the motorcycle. Neither one of them are wearing seatbelts. It's two-wheel vehicle. And I'm like, and yet I'm getting the ticket because I don't have a strap on. It's ludicrous. And you know why they do it, because they want to find out other stuff that you're doing. This is a way to pull you over.
Well, okay. It's probable cause, right? I had probable cause to pull you over because you have it. Absolutely. That is one of the biggest crimes aren't solved because of the Inspector Gadget shit and the Inspector Clouseau and the brilliant minds out there. Crimes are solved because people snitch and shit gets stumbled on. That's basically how that happens.
Yep.
Here's what you can do, law enforcement of Coos County and state of Oregon. Actually pull over people without freaking bumpers, with vehicles that are too freaking loud, with people with no windshields. I've seen vehicles with no windshields or bumpers at the same time driving through town and not getting stopped. Hey, you're probably a shitbag. You probably drive a bicycle most of your time and you got this for $50. It's not registered. Now, you pull the guy over and it's like, yeah, take it to my buddy's place to get it fixed. It's an old shitty thing I had in my garage for the past 6 months. Okay, fine. Go on your way. Don't do it again. But we need to get back to profiling. But did you know in the state of Oregon that the primary reason to pull you over, like for not having say you have a burnt out tail light, that cannot be the primary reason for pulling you over. This happened about 3-4 years ago. I sat in court in Coquille and watched some of those cases actually take place where, well, Your Honor, they wrote me a ticket and they pulled me over because I didn't have a turn signal that was burnt out. So, the new law, like, they can't do that. And the judge was like, you're right. We can't. This is dismissed because it's putting undue stress on the poor. It's criminalizing being poor. Hey, if you can't afford a $2 freaking light bulb, maybe you shouldn't be driving a vehicle. Come on. Use that as probable cause. Literally no windshields. I've seen this driving around town.
Yeah.
Third one.
I've seen it as well, and it's pretty. My favorite is the little car that has like 6 different colors on each fender, and they got. I don't know what the hell they do with those mufflers on those little rice burners that they're driving, and I mean it just the sound of it down the road. I don't know if they think that's tough or not, but yeah,
I don't know. But there's a lot of other stuff you can do besides just harassing a buddy on his way to work. Hey, between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m., if a guy's driving on a main artery in his vehicle, he's probably going to work. Let's leave those people alone.
We used to go, they would say, when in New Mexico, they did roadblocks. They're completely illegal here. And when the sheriff would get pissed off at a neighborhood because the neighborhood was having high crime, all of a sudden, we would get a roadblock set up at 7 a.m. on the main artery. And it was like, why are you punishing us? Because our neighbor's a meth head causing you all kinds of problems. So now you're putting up a roadblock where I'm going to be late at work, chance of losing my job because now I got to explain to my boss why I'm late and shit. And it's all because, and I remember I'd get up there and I would chew these officers out and they'd go, oh, well, sir, you don't understand. We've got real criminals here. And it's like, well, I know where they are. They're living right next door to me, man. You don't need the roadblock. I can take you right to where the hell they are, man. Yep. And we knew what they were doing. They were punishing us because, well, I guess we didn't give up enough on our bad neighbors or something. I really don't know why they did it, but it was crazy. Like you said, 7 a.m. Most of us are going to work. Yeah, guaranteed.
And you could tell who's a shitbag. You could tell who's a shitbag criminal with no insurance and warrants. You can tell, and there's always a reason to pull them over.
That's that profiling. We can't have profiling. It's like we're looking for Bigfoot. Can you describe him? No, we don't want to get racial here.
Right?
A tall guy who may have a hair problem.
It's like every white guy that commits a crime nationally hits the news within seconds. And typically, well, this last school shooter, this black kid, that hit the news really quick. That is atypical of what the media does. They usually seem to shelter everybody except white heterosexual males. Those are the ones that get put in the forefront. This black kid got pushed up pretty quick. I don't know what's up with that.
Did you hear about the Navajo serial killer? I bet you guys never heard about this. The guy was just recently arrested. He murdered 11 young men and boys, gay young men and boys. He was gay himself, a gay Indian, and he was a serial killer, killed over 11 people. They've got him arrested. and I haven't heard one flipping story on the news. I've got it on my website because I knew as soon as I saw that FBI and I saw that the guy was an Indian and he was gay, and just because he killed 11 people and he was Indian and gay, nobody was ever going to hear about this because
That's
don't want a narrative.
That's a full John Wayne Gacy is what that is.
Totally. You think we would have heard about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's on my website. Anyone who doesn't believe me, go to the blog page on my website, and sure as shit, you can find that story. And it's I believe he's Navajo. I think that was the Indian tribe he was from. And it's all because he's an Indian. They don't want to throw out there, this is horrible. We got an actual Indian killing Indians.
I don't care what race, sex, creed, whatever, religion. I don't care. Evil's evil. Good is good. We got to stop this nonsense, and hopefully on the federal level we'll see some of that. I think we already have. I think we're starting to see a trend, and hopefully it can continue. I don't know how much will trickle to here. We're such a different nation here. We really are.
We're really screwed, and I think it's going to get worse because they're going to try to counter Trump by making it more shocking. And you should see the laws. They've got a bill for reparations. Have you seen that one? They want to pay the people who've never been slaves in Oregon, which was never a slave state, and they want those of us who've never owned slaves to pay these people who never were slaves. Kind of crazy.
If I got to pay somebody for something, they need to come and mow my lawn.
Yeah, I think so too.
We got to even it out somewhere along the way.
Somewhere, yeah. You got to pick some cotton for me or something, man. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to get in trouble for that. Look at Chris.
Yes, you are.
For the record, my head was down when that comment was made.
Chris was horrified. Chris was like, "Oh crap! You know what? You should have just done. You should have just froze and not moved through that whole little segment. That way, you just say, "Oh yeah, my video glitched. I wasn't any part of that at all."
I would have rebuked that comment.
Wow.
That's the nice thing, though, about living with Oregon. If there's a crime committed, 99.9%, it's a white guy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can't be a racist because you're against crime and criminals, because most of the criminals are white guys. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. All my people I've been encounters with, they're all white dudes and white chicks. That's all I've ever been assailed and assaulted by.
And that was funny because then when I lived in the barrios, it was all Mexicans committing the crimes, and I think it's because all Mexicans live there. It's kind of funny how that happens. You go to the black neighborhoods, it's the black people committing crimes. Like you said, Rob, they're shitty people of all kinds of colors, no matter what. Yeah. And how we deal with them is what's important. And it's a screwed up system.
There's no equality anymore. There's no real equality at all. There's everything is so skewed.
Well, I got to thank you guys for coming on. I really enjoyed this rant. I think this was good. Before I get you out of here, Chris, you got anything to say?
I think I've said enough already.
he's just like, oh God, hit the button. Get me out of here.
I'm going to get a message from Henry Delaney. That was you who called me a racist in the hardware store? Or a rapist, not a rachist. Yeah.
He's going to call the police on you. I was defamed.
Probably. He went after you for saying rapist because what was his he wanted that he was convicted of sexual abuse or something. It wasn't rape. It was only alleged that he raped her. I mean, that's semantically ridiculous. And he was going to send his lawyers after you.
I think Rob meant rapist. Like he liked rap music.
Yes.
You're a rapist. Oh, you thought I said rapist, you dirty chimo rapist. No, I said rapist.
What's the matter with you? Are you a racist? Are you a racist rapist? Man, you got problems. Oh, shit.
I appreciate you guys.
Doug, you got anything you want to say before
I had fun, guys. Just, folks, don't be a cuck. Watch your neighbors. And not everybody can fight. Not everybody can get out there. Not everybody can put the chase on shitbags. But be vigilant. Watch out for your neighbors. Watch out for yourselves. Make your home your final stand and your first line of defense. And get yourself a gun. Express and exercise your Second Amendment rights, unless you're some kind of chimo felon that can't own a gun anyway. and really just take back your neighborhoods. It's not difficult to do. Even just you don't have to chase people down and tell them to get the hell out. You can just, hey man, everything cool? You doing all right? Okay. Hey, yeah, have a good night. You can just be friendly like that. Rats don't like being confronted, and cockroaches don't like light. So if you do either of those things, you can eventually put enough pressure on them, they're going to go where they're not noticed.
You know, that is absolutely true. Everything you just said is absolutely true. When I worked security in the retail world, I used to tell my guys, kill them with kindness. You know, if you can't catch them stealing, well, stand 20 feet and do some stalking and make sure that every one of their needs is met. You need any help? Are you
Yep.
sure you don't need any help? And it's amazing. They'll get the hint. They'll move on.
Yep.
It
Absolutely.
worked every time. I mean, like if a normal person had a flashlight shined on them, they'd be like, okay, like what's up? You know, or like they might even get a little upset, but they're not going to like come at you aggressively like these criminal homeless do. For sure. Jeff is reminding me to mention that I'm doing coffee with a conservative tomorrow. Saturday morning.
Yes.
Yep. 9 to 11 at Cafe 101 in Coos Bay. So if you want to have
Very
coffee.
cool. Coffee with a conservative. I like that. The people that
Every
come in,
morning.
like, they can pet you and give you treats and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
can they touch your beard, Chris? Because this beard is now becoming a part. It's part of Coos Bay folklore.
Yes, it's
Can they touch
folklore
your beard
now.
for a fee?
For a
See,
small fee. Yes.
Yeah, we're going to have the museum, and we're going to have your beard and the one-armed hooker all in the same exhibit.
I always forget about her till you bring her up, Rob. We like that. That is a part of. It's not even lore. It is fact. It is documented fact. The one-armed car thieving hooker. She would steal cars from her Johns. This is little Coos County. Whatever happened to her? Did she lose her other arm and now she just sits there? Her nickname is Bob. Just What happened
I
to her?
don't know, man. What did happen to her? That is weird. I'm gonna have to find out, man. That is strange. The one-armed hooker. Yeah, I tell that story. I when I went to Texas, I was, they look at me because I'm from Oregon. They already know I'm freaking crazy. And then I'm telling them the one-armed hooker story, and they're like, holy shit, man. What's the matter with your state?
Do you remember the TV show My Name is Earl?
Yeah.
We live there. That's where we live. That's what Coos County's become.
Like that.
Patty the daytime hooker. We had Sally the one-armed hooker. I mean,
yeah, that's something. Well, you guys have a good one. All right.
You guys have a good. I had a lot of fun. Good laughs, guys. Have a good night.
Too, man. You all have a good night.
I apologize for everything I said.
No problem. All right. I want to thank Chris and Doug for coming on the show. That was damn entertaining. And, we say a lot of things that people might find hurtful, or they might think, oh, wow, that was pretty colorful. Those were some colorful remarks that you made. And, well, that's life. Get over it. We'll say things that are in humor. And the reason it's funny is because in part it's true. And so, people have to get over it. If we took everything serious that we have to deal with in life, we'd go nuts. And that's why I love the Friday night rant. We can come on, have a few beers, say a few curse words, make a little bit of a rant, and then go on from there. That's the cool thing about Friday night. And I totally agree with Rob Doug Washington. He's quite an accomplished man, but one of the best things he said, don't be a cuck, take back your neighborhood. That is the best freaking advice. Just don't worry about getting into trouble. Don't worry about the police, some criminal calling the police on you. Just fight back, stand up. If they can't take the criminal to jail, more than likely they can't take you to jail. And no, I can't guarantee that, but it's probably true. I know for myself, I have found out that when I've gotten into situations that are really questionable and the cops show up, usually I have no problem talking my way out of it, because if it's a real legitimate reason that you have to stand up and defend yourself, usually the police will understand that. And if not, hopefully you get a jury member who does understand that. This Monday, I've got a really good guest coming on. His name is Ben Edel. Ben, many of you know Ben if you're fans of the show. He's got an initiative out. The initiative is End Vote by Mail. You can find out more about this by going to EndVBM. That's endvotebymail.com, endvbm.com. And you can get petitions, the sheets, actual sheets, petitions, and the wording of the initiative itself. You have to have that if you're going to go get petition signatures. But if you want to end vote by mail, you need to contact nvbm.com and find out what you can do to get these petition signature sheets. And we're going to be doing some booths here. I know the lady, I think it's Danessa Rains, is leading the charge on the Coos County effort to get this passed. It's a statewide initiative. I think he said we're going to need like 160,000 signatures, which translates to about 200,000 signatures because so many of them are going to be kicked out. But it can be done. It can be done. And it's going to be a battle if we do get it on the ballot to get it passed, but it's well worth the fight. And the reason that it's well worth the fight is because vote by mail is Oregon was the first state to have vote by mail. And within a couple of years of having that, the Republicans lost all the statewide seats, and they have lost any authority that they used to have in the Senate and in the House in the state of Oregon. We are now a one-party state. And I do believe it's vote by mail that has caused the fact that we're a one-party state. So I would recommend that you tune in on Monday at 3:00. Ben Edel was going to be here. And I think Michaela was, I'll have to check back. I think she was going to come on as well. So that's Michaela Hammerson, Ben Edel, all going to be here Monday. Ought to be a really great show. Before I get out of here, I do got to take a little bit of time to talk about my sponsors because, well, they're just kick-ass. They're just kick-ass sponsors, and I do appreciate them sponsoring me every week. In fact, I want you to check out this rockin' video because it's one of my favorite commercials. They're experts at taking out those problem trees. You got some problem trees, you know, the ones that can be a little bit of a liability. They got branches hanging over your roof. You know, you're worried about the tree actually falling on your neighbor's garage. They can take care of all of that. All of those problems can be eliminated, and they can remove those trees with surgical precisions. It's amazing how fast they can go in there, take out those trees and clean it up so quick. Take very little time to do it. And amazingly, they can do it very professionally and at a very good price. I highly recommend 541-294-1800. Highly recommend 3H Tree Service. Once again, 541-294-1800. 3H Tree Service. The Holman gang, Tony Holman, Dennis Holman, and of course Matt Holman. And on Monday they'll probably be playing Where's 3H Tree Service on Monday again. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Tom and Giggs. Hopefully I can get Tim on the show Monday. He was kind of in a blue mood, you know, and then he lost one of his crew. Had moved on, and so he was having to work a little bit extra in his own shop. That really sucks when you're the owner and one of your employees goes, and then you have to make up all that time. So he's finally got that guy replaced with a new guy. So if you need your car worked on, go to Tom and Giggs. Those guys are really great out there. He's got some excellent mechanics. He's excellent himself working on these cars. You need a new muffler. You need a light bar. You need whatever you need. Alignment. You need alignment. They can take care of all those problems. You need a tonneau cover. Hell, maybe you need some tannerite. He actually sells tannerite, and he sells those cute little remote control cars. Those are really cool. I don't know. I'd like to combine the tannerite with the remote control cars and make my own little army. That's what I was thinking of doing. I don't know. Next bum camp. I don't know. It's an idea. We'll buy some remote control cars, put some tannerite in it, and drive them right into the bum camp and set them off. I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking crazy here. No, you can't do that. That would be a crime. But if you do want to use it for the right reasons, they have a lot of great things down at Tom and Gigs. Like I said, the tannerite, the remote control cars, they have all the parts for those RC cars. I mean, you need a part for your RC car. Tom and Gigs can fulfill all of those needs. And they're at 135 South Shoneman Street in Coos Bay. It's in the Empire neighborhood, right behind the car wash. If you know where Empire is, you know where the car wash is. And they're right behind the car wash. They can take care of all your automotive needs. And Herbal Choices for all those herbal needs. Herbal Choices is the dispensary that I choose. Herbal Choices is one of the best dispensaries in the county. They've got, they've got 4 stores in the county, and they got a 5th one in Reedsport. Up in Reedsport, from Reedsport, you can catch an Herbal's Choice. You can catch one in North Bend. You can catch one in Coos Bay. And they've got a store just a mile or so south of Bandon. And that's my favorite store. Very well lit, really good people, nice people in there. And you always feel like you're getting a good deal when you go to Herbal Choices. Really good stuff, really great products. And anyone who has those herbal needs, I would highly recommend Herbal Choices. And of course, Oregon Firearms Federation, Oregon Firearms off. Yes, Oregon Firearms Federation still fighting for your Second Amendment rights. And I can tell you right now, I've shown you in the legislature those gun bills that are coming out, those anti-gun bills. They want to take away your Second Amendment rights. There is no doubt about it. That is the goal of the leftists in Oregon. And Oregon Firearms Federation is the only gun group who's fighting against the leftist agenda to disarm the citizens of Oregon. And if you want to give to a group that actually is in court, who's actually defending your Second Amendment rights, Oregon Firearms Federation is a great place to put that money, because they are dedicated to fighting these bad laws. And you can find out more at OregonFirearms.org. And they're not my sponsors, but I like to recommend them. Bandon Gun Club, you can find out more at bandongunclub.org. Or Tioga Sports Park. Once again, not my sponsors, but I like to mention them because I think all of you should be very skilled at using your firearms. And at TiogaSportsPark.org, you can find out a lot more. And I always want to promote this group because they're doing a hell of a job. Coos County Neighborhood Watch. They've been around since 2020. They've been doing a great job. I recommend people, if you want to find out more about the criminals in Coos County, you want to find out who's doing what as far as crime, Coos County Neighborhood Watch is the place to go. Right now, they're at 7.4K members, and I think we can do better with that. Let's push that up. I think we have a lot more people in Coos County, and I think we have a lot more people who'd be interested in fighting crime, or at least that's my theory on it. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in. This has been a real blast. You know, I always have such a great time when Rob from Base and Tackle, Doug Washington is on the show. It's always a good time. And I hope you all join me Monday. Like I said, Ben Edel from End Vote by Mail is going to be here. And next Friday, the Friday Night Rant, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I know I'll be ranting about something. And so until then, you know what I always say, folks? Carry on, Coos County. Carry on.